If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. And yes, we have some sad Mammoth fans on our hands. I know. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. So many occasions, so many mistakes, so many moments where if they're a little better, if it's different, they win the game. But they weren't, they didn't, and Vegas wins the game. 5-4 in double overtime on a short-handed goal after a bad giveaway and a bad spot on the ice. Wash, rinse, repeat. Feel like we've been here before. Entertaining game. Tons of goals. That's a lot of fun. But the Mammoth are where they are because they're really good defensively. You know, when it comes to goals scored, they're right in the middle of the league. But they were sixth in the league in the regular season. Sixth fewest number of goals given up. Colorado is number one, and look where they are. And that just hasn't carried over to the postseason. It just hasn't. This is the third time in 5 games that the Mammoth have given up 4 goals or more. And what happened in those games? They lost every single one of them. They won 3-2. They won 4-2. You hold them a couple goals, you can win the game. You give up 4 goals or more, you're going to lose the game. And there it is. It's pretty simple. And we were talking yesterday about the power play. They're just giving Vegas too many opportunities. And can they keep giving them, 4 power plays a game? Seems like a lot. And you know why? Because it's a lot. There's no other way around it. We had Ken Bolke on from Sin Bin Vegas saying, can they keep giving Vegas four power plays a game? Probably not. Sure enough, they did. Vegas got the power play goal. And then even worse, they got the shorthanded goal. So when it comes to those special team situations, Vegas is capitalizing and Utah is not. And the soft giveaways, the third goal, the Melka behind the net, had the puck, and then he didn't. No real reason or explanation, no real effort to just bang that puck down the ice. And so they give it away, and sure enough, then they're caught out of position, and there's just time and space. It's just, growing up playing basketball, and then coming here where college basketball is such a big deal and the NBA was here. It's great. I got to cover a ton of basketball. And then you get new teams coming in, soccer and hockey. And, there's not a lot of new language and lingo and all that. But you know what doesn't change? Time and space. You give someone a chance to shoot. It doesn't matter if it's with their hands or with their feet or with a stick. You give someone time to shoot. You give them time and space. Bad things happen. It's not complicated. And after that soft giveaway behind the net, so much time and space. And sure enough, it leads to a goal. So can the Mammoth come back and win this series? Absolutely. I 100% believe they can. But they got to clean up the stuff they're doing. I mean, there's too many bad giveaways, too many penalties, and too many goals allowed. And there it is. Fix that stuff, and it's an easy game. And I know it's way easier to say it than do it. And I'm just sitting here, blah, 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 blah. But argue with any of it. You can't give the puck away in your own end when you're on a power play. First off, what are you doing at that end of the ice? And second off, what are you doing giving away the puck? And giving away behind your own goal is got to stop. I will say there was some outstanding stuff along the way. Both goaltenders had to stop breakaways. Veggie stopped 2. And, of course, the second one he stopped was after Weir lost the puck at his own blue line. What happened? How did you lose the – But Veggie came up big. But eventually it's just too much to ask. I got to say, I thought Utah was going to win that. Hart is a perfect 4-0 in sudden death. I mean, at some point, that's got to go against you, right? And he made some massive saves. And Cooley's right in front. Shot comes in, rebound. Cooley's scrapping. I don't know how he got the pad down and pushed that puck away. Cooley got robbed. There were chances. There were certainly opportunities. And the one thing that has been a positive that holds is Utah remains a faster team. And, man, both teams are making mistakes. Both teams are failing to protect leads. Utah had a lead 3 times in that game and just couldn't hold on. They were up 2-1 late in the second period, just like 5 minutes. Take that lead to the locker room, and they not only gave up 1 goal, they gave up 2. So credit them coming back from that. But they had the 4-3 lead. They had about 8 minutes to go. They couldn't do it again. It just couldn't pull it off. It was the tying goal came after they pulled their goalie with they pulled him with 2 minutes left and then scored with about a minute left. And so, hey, credit Vegas, man. Big plays in the clutch. But the other thing, and we've talked about this, and you want to win the playoff series. You want to have as many experiences as you can so guys have that to draw on down the line, right? To provide that little bit of calm, intense moments and that little bit of focus when you really need it. It helps when you've been in a situation before. You don't necessarily have to have it, but it helps. I mean, Brady won the first Super Bowl he played in. I know you don't have to have it, but it helps. And so any experience they can have, forcing a Game 7, that'd be a positive. Winning a Game 7, that'd be a positive. Winning a playoff series would be a positive. But when you go big picture, the work that has to be done, the Mammoth have to be a lot better. If you look at the standings, just the point total for the whole league, they had the 16th best record. And they're playing the team that had the 14th best record. And it's super even. You know what that tells me? They really were a team in the middle of the league. Vegas really is a team in the middle of the league, and they're very evenly matched. And that's why this series has been tied 1-1. It's why this series has been tied 2-2. It's why I think it might be tied 3-3. And it's why Game 5 was tied 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, and 4-4. I mean, these teams are even. And the scoreboard keeps reminding us of that. And they are in the middle of the league. And they're going to have to get better. It'll be an interesting conversation when this is all over to hear Bill Armstrong talk about where does this team have to improve? Where does it have to improve? And how much of that is the internal improvement of the guys, and how much of that is they need new players and they need upgrades. They need to upgrade the roster. So it'll be interesting to hear him talk about that. Even if they do win this series, and even if they win the next series, you know, Edmonton is the 15th best team if you look at the league standings. Anaheim is the 18th best team. They are in the softest quadrant of the 16 teams that made the playoffs. The Kings had the worst record, and they're already out. Colorado swept them. The advantage of having the best record in hockey. You get the Kings, you blow them out, you're on to the second round. But the next 4 worst teams on point total, just looking at results, are the 4 teams in this quadrant. It's Vegas, it's Utah, it's Edmonton, it's Anaheim. So it'd be great to win. It'd be great to advance. It's exciting. It's fun. It'd slow down the rebuild and make rebuilding the arena chaotic. But there would be a certain amount of fool's gold to it. You know, the ultimate goal is to win the Stanley Cup. And you can't really backdoor that. You may be able to backdoor a round or two. Somebody's going to. And it might be Utah. It might be Vegas. You know, we'll see. Anaheim's up 3-2 on Edmonton. We'll see how this plays out. Someone is going to sneak in the back door to a conference final. But you still got to win 2 more series. And there should be 2 really good teams there waiting for you. There's no way around it. I mean, the Kings are out. Colorado, Minnesota, Dallas are all really good. I suspect they'll end up being Colorado, but we'll see how it goes. But I think there's the short term and there's the long term. In the short term, clean up the penalties, clean up where you're losing the puck, and stop giving up 4 goals a game. And you can win Game 6, and it's back to Vegas for a Game 7, and we'll see what happens. Same things will apply. And then big picture, it'll be interesting to see how Bill Armstrong wants to upgrade this roster. All right, DJ and PK, we'll take a break. When we come back, the best of the post-game show, you have from the coach and the players. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, the Utah Mammoth get beat. They lose in double overtime. What went wrong? Penalties, giving the puck away, not finishing some good chances. Let's get it all wrapped up here in the best of the postgame show.
DJ and PK, the Vegas Golden Knights took it 5-4 in double overtime from the Utah Mammoth on Wednesday night at the T-Mobile Arena to take a 3-2 series lead. Utah looked to force a Game 7 in Vegas on Friday night when they played the Golden Knights here at the Delta Center. Game 6 of the series, 8 o'clock face-off. We'll be on the air at 7 o'clock live on the SeatGeek Plaza with Hockey Night in Utah. Jake and Ben will be involved in the pregame party as well, starting at 2. But on Wednesday night, Mammoth jumped up 1-0 in the first period. First career playoff goal for John Marino.
Schmaltz, Keller, and Krause stay out there. It'll be Schmaltz head-to-head with Brett Howden. Schmaltz wins another faceoff for Marino at the right point. Here's Keller walking the tightrope. Arrester misses wide. Marino scores! John Marino leads off the scoring for the Mammoth. Stashing in a loose puck, and it's 1-0 with 2:49 to go in the first period. Marino has been so good defensively all series, and now he chips in on the other end of the ice.
Vegas had tied on a power play goal late. We were 1-1 going to the second. In the second, Lawson Krause picked up his third goal of the playoffs. Utah got the lead back.
Kerfoot looking down low for Lawson Krause here in the Vegas end with 9.5 to go in the second period. Back out to neutral ice as this is Sergachev who turns it around the clock in the offensive zone. Now Krause open, scores! Keller set it up and Krause knocked it down. Mammoth back in front, middle of the second period. 2-1, and Lawson Krause has his third goal of the series.
Vegas, though, got 2 goals in a minute 40. It was 3-2 late in the second. Head coach Andre Tourney called timeout. Got his guys settled down. They came out in the third. They tie it and take the lead. First, it would be Dylan Gunther.
Yamamoto ahead of 2-on-1 with Gunther. Yamamoto, Gunther shoots and scores! He's not next. He's now. Dylan Gunther scores his third of the series, and we are tied. Kyler Yamamoto set him up, and Dylan Gunther, the 23-year-old superstar who had 40 in the regular season, rifles one past a sprawling Carter Hart and drops down to a knee to celebrate.
And then Michael Carcone gave Utah the lead back at 4-3.
Here's Eichel controlling, and it swiped away. Utah numbers ahead. Kerfoot and Carcone. Kerfoot moving in. Carcone a one-timer. Scores! Mammoth in front here in the third. Michael Carcone lights up Sin City, and it's 4-3. 7:18 to go in the third. Utah was surviving a Vegas push. Kerfoot took it ahead, floated it across on a 2-on-1, and Michael Carcone scored his second of the series to lift Utah ahead here in the middle of the third period.
Vegas tied it in the final minute of regulation to force overtime. We'd end up in double overtime before a shorthanded goal by Brett Howden would seal it. Let's hear from the guys after the contest, starting with associate captain Lawson Krause.
Away from a game like that,
go win one at home. I think that's our focus.
a lot of extra hockey in that one. Were there areas of this game where you guys felt like you probably made it more difficult on yourselves?
Obviously we took quite a few penalties in the first half of the game. But no, I think, we battled hard. Obviously, sucked giving up that goal late in the third for them to tie it. But we pushed. We never stopped working, and, unfortunate ending. But like I said, we got to go win one at home.
You guys have always had that belief, always just focus on the next game. How important will that be in relying on each other to lift each other up?
Yeah, it's huge. I think, take a look at us now. We have to win. We got to step up and do it on our home ice. We got incredible fans back home waiting for us to come home, and we're excited to get going again.
How's Vegas made it hard for you guys to maintain leads in this series?
Yeah, they're a great team. It's playoff hockey. It's there's a lot of energy out there. There's a lot of highs. There's a lot of lows. They're a great team. They're playing really good hockey, but, we're also playing good hockey. There's still some things that we can improve on. We'll go over that and get back to it.
So what's the kind of experience you can draw back on when it comes to, they talk a lot about experience being under the other room. You guys are relatively new. What kind of experiences can you guys draw on to kind of get you over the hump and get that win in game 6?
I think you just learn things throughout the series. You got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to change. And, we're excited for the next game.
You guys pride yourself on being, character guys and close-knit group. Do you think this group has a chance to really bounce back in Game 6?
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's zero doubt in this locker room.
Thanks, Spencer.
Thanks, Lawson.
John Marino becoming the 6th Utah defenseman to pick up a point in the playoffs on that first career playoff goal that you just heard. We heard from number 6 after the contest.
What is that?
Yeah, obviously the loss is pretty fresh, but, I think as we've seen the other games throughout the whole series, we're a resilient group. I think we know, the ebbs and flows of the playoff series. They win 2, we win 2. So, yeah, we got to be obviously ready to go.
As far as the takeaway, you guys were in control of this game for the most part. What were the positive things you liked about your game?
Yeah, that's what we got to take away, right? Like the confidence we have behind this group. Like we play stick to our game. We know how effective we can be against them. So yeah.
Everyone's contributing in different ways. You got your first goal of the series tonight. What does it say about this group that everyone's pushing and contributing?
Yeah, it's a pretty deep group. Line after line, we just keep coming after, and that's when we're at our best. We see that throughout the series, so that's what we got to get back to.
There's plenty of guys with experience in this room, whether it's playoffs or worlds or whatever it is. How can everyone lift their own teammates up with that experience?
Yeah, obviously pretty fresh right now, but, talk about it tomorrow and the next day, and then, look to those guys, those leadership guys that have been through it, calm us down, get ready for the next one. That's what matters most.
When you get to double overtime, what's the balance of trying to give it your all, but also conserve your energy because you don't know how long you're going to be playing tonight?
Yeah, you just got to go line after line. Quick shifts, trust each other, and I'll play the similar game.
Has maturity and experience played a role over these last 2?
Yeah, I think it's been huge. Obviously not the result that we wanted, but I love our compete so far, and we were able to come back in some games too and respond really well. So we'll take that.
Coach took that timeout in the end of the second. What was the reset button that you guys hit?
Yeah, I think just calm ourselves down a little. They get 2 quick ones, just kind of reset a little, and go from there.
What's the message and mentality going into Game 6?
Must win. Gotta win.
How much can the home crowd lift you guys up in Game 6?
Yeah, we're for sure going to be looking forward to that, for an advantage. We had a win at home. It was huge in the first playoff game there. So, we're going to need everyone.
Thanks, John.
And Utah captain Clayton Keller now 5 points in his last 3 games, 2 more points on Wednesday night. He's got multiple points in 2 of the last 3. Here's what the captain said after the game.
But we get to go home, play in front of our fans, and win a game at home.
What did you see in terms of the ebbs and flows of this game? Because there was a lot of extra hockey.
Like, what do you mean?
Just in terms of how the momentum shifts, how you guys were able to manage the pace. Obviously, it's a marathon, not a sprint in this game.
Yeah, I think, these playoff games, like I said before, I think each team's going to have a push, and I think we did, a good job of, weathering the storm a bit and then just attacking, using our speed. Those are our strengths, and that's what we have to do if we want to be successful. But, I think each game we're learning, we're getting better, and we have to continue to do that, watch video, adapt to what they're doing, and go from there.
What's 1 or 2 things that this group has learned in this game, especially at double overtime?
I think you just got to stick with it. You can't change your game. Maybe when you get tired or, it's 2 extra periods of intense playoff hockey, like you just stay with it. Trust your teammates. I think line changes are huge. I think just, setting up the next line, getting the next zone, just playing simple and going at it that way.
That's very good.
Bear always says that don't change who you are in the playoffs, and you guys have always had faith. You guys have always bounced back. How can you channel that into this next game in Game 6?
Yeah, like I said, I think, we're a confident group, and we believe in one another and in our team, and I think these are the most fun games to be a part of. Down 3-2, we get to go home, play in front of our fans. Like I said, if you're not fired up for that, then you got something wrong with you.
Does the game change at all when you get to playoff overtime?
I don't know. I think you just try to do what makes you successful throughout the game, throughout the series. You learn their team's instincts and things that they like to do, and you try to break that down and get better each game at that. And I think just playing our game.
Does fatigue play a factor in a game that as intense as it is and goes into 2 overtime?
I don't know. I think it's just you just have to continue what you do throughout the game. I think obviously both teams are gonna be a little fatigued for sure, but like I said, it's a team that sticks with it the longest and trust one another and just make the right play at the right time.
How did penalties play a factor in this game? Obviously, a big part of it, but how do you limit those in going into the next one?
We gotta check with our feet. Can't get our sticks in there, little things like that. But power play's got to be better. We got to find a way to score. They had one, and we had some looks, but that's something that we'll look at going into Game 6.
You mentioned the home crowd. How much could they lift this group up in Game 6?
Yeah, for sure. They've been amazing all year. Amazing the first 2 games at home. Definitely gives us a lot of energy, buzz, and we can't wait to go home.
How much has maturity and experience played a role over these last 2 games?
What?
How much has maturity and experience played a role in the outcomes of the last 2 games?
I think we're learning each game. They're a very good team. They've won before. They're experienced, but we don't back down from anyone. But I think each game, like I said, just try to get better. Who cares about that stuff really? I think we just trust one another. We're confident and go from there.
For Utah, special teams a struggle. Vegas scored on the power play and scored shorthanded. Utah 0 for 4 on the power play. Second straight game that Vegas wins in overtime. Second straight game that they score shorthanded and also win the special teams battle. Utah outscored the Golden Knights 4-2, 5-on-5 in the contest. So Utah's had a lead in all 5 games and in all 5 third periods so far. So they'll look to close it out and again force that Game 7 on Sunday in Vegas.
That was, I think both teams play really hard. We were really close, unfortunately. Give that 6-on-5 goal and could not get it done in overtime. But really proud of the way the guys played. I still think there's a few things we can clean up and be a little bit better. I think we had a big improvement in our play since the last game, but still area I think we can get better. That's one thing. The other thing is Barrett Eaton this morning. I told you he was not playing, and I was not lying. He was not planned to play before the morning skate. And after I talked to you, I had a chat with him, and he was feeling really good, and he kind of he was not seeing what 2 more days will change. So we had a discussion with the medical team, and according if the warm-up and everything was good and was playing. So that's what happened. So it was game time decision, but to be honest, after the morning skate, after my chat with him, it was more unless something go bad. But before that was not planned to play today. So.
All season long, you guys have bounced back. You've had that positiveness. This whole group has always believed that they could come back. How important will keeping that mindset be going into Game 6 at home?
We played rock solid, and we knew they had to come through Salt Lake. We have to come to Utah, and we like I said, we're happy about the way we played. I think we progressed in our game. I think we have some adjustment we made and give us a little bit more rhythm. There's more thing we need to keep cleaning up. But I think we played a really good game. It was a hard-fought game, and proud of the performance of the boys.
Sergachev had 37.5 minutes of playing time tonight. What does he continue to do for this group as a rock-steady presence?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who have a lot of minutes, obviously, with the overtime. Schmaltzy as a forward, and that's 30 minutes, so it's a lot. But I think we had contribution from everybody throughout the lineup. If you look the overtime at that game versus the overtime at the other game, there were more player involved. Everybody contributed, even at 5-on-5. I think we had momentum and opportunity coming from different lines.
We've talked a lot about the experience of the guys that have played in big championship games and big moments like this. How do you feel like those guys are contributing when the moment gets really big like this?
Well, I think it's a good question, but I think, like I just said, I don't feel there's anybody in our lineup who was not up to par tonight. I think everybody had a push. Everybody had a contribution. There's no such thing in a perfect game. There's no such thing than any of our players not making mistake. That's not what we expect. But if you look at their effort, if you look at their focus, at our urgency, our execution, I think we did a good job.
One of the big parts of this game was the 4-minute penalty kill. How good was the penalty kill, and how instrumental was it to get you to even double OT?
Yeah, it's the special team is so important. There's tonight, if you look, they have a goal on their PK, they have a goal on their power play, they have a goal at 6-on-5, and they have a goal on faceoffs. So, that's a huge difference in the game. I can tell you that. So there's a lot of good thing we do. We score a goal as well on our faceoff. Our penalty kill, like you just mentioned, kill there a lot of minutes, and but we give them maybe too many opportunity to be on the power play, and we need to. At 5-on-5, we're playing really good hockey, like we did all season long. Well, we need to make sure we're tuned in on every detail, and there's stuff happen. It's not necessarily because it's a special situation. Example, their power play goal, puck deflect on about everything in the building, get right on tape of 16 on the backside. What you want us to do? There's part of it is what it is. It's their 6-on-5 goal, the rebound come right on his tape. He's at the right place. He's going at the net. They put pucks on the net. They did the right thing. I'm not suggesting we didn't do what we had to do, but we need to find ways in those situations to be excellent.
Coach, two situations where you're able to kind of get your team to reset a little bit, whether it was after a timeout in the second period or even going into the intermission for overtime. What is kind of like the message there after you give up like situations like that where you give up a lead and then give up another lead again? So what do you talk to them about there?
Well, I think that was we played good, but at that moment in the second period when we had the timeout, we had a little slump for about 3 minutes where we didn't do the specific we need to do to be successful against Vegas. And right away you saw, as soon as we stopped doing it, they were coming hard. So that was just to refocus everybody and make sure we were getting back into the plan and into the detail we need to do. We need to execute.
Are maturity and experience starting to play a factor in this series?
Well, I don't know how you saw the game. I saw we played a hell of a game. You know what I mean? So I'm so proud of the way we played, the way our guys played, the intensity, the pace we had. I have no complaints about it. Like I said, there's no such thing as a perfect game. There's still some detail we can clean up and get better. Talk about some special situation where we need to have an extra focus, but I'm so proud of the way our team fought, our effort, our intensity, our commitment, our focus. Really proud of the boys.
Coach, you mentioned the effort and the intensity. How much, if any, did fatigue set in when you got to that second overtime, and did that play a factor at all?
It does offensively. You don't have that little push to sometimes win the battle or cut inside or take the quality shot and stuff like that. And that goes both sides. But yes, you could see it a little bit on our power play where we didn't have the same pop. That's unfortunate, But another thing we didn't talk about, but we were all talking about our start today. We had a hell of a start, So the boys were really tuned in. I'm really proud of them.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll have more on the game on today's episode of Mammoth Daily, wherever you get your podcasts. Mike Falter and I will give you more reaction. We'll hear from Matt McConnell and Dominic Moore from our TV side, and get ready for a Friday Game 6 before we re-greet you. Coming up Friday night, 7 o'clock, Hockey Night in Utah. Puck drops at 8. Join us on the SeatGeek Plaza before the game for all sorts of fun. More playoffs coming to the Delta Center coming up on Friday night.
All right, there is the best of the post-game show. When we come back, we're going to switch gears here, and we are going to talk a little college football. Pete Sousa inside the Big 12. Chaos at Texas Tech. Down a quarterback like BYU last year. Like Utah 2 years ago. Like Utah 3 years ago. How will it play out? I mean, BYU won 11. Utah had a 5-win season. Utah also had an 8-win season. Really, anything is possible, but there do seem to be a couple of key storylines. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
DJ PK, and we're joined now by Pete Sousa, host of Inside the Big 12 and the Pete Sousa Show. Pete, good morning.
Hey, gentlemen, good to be back with you. A happy hump day, a busy day in the Big 12. It's like we continue to get these storylines in the off season that are jarring, interesting, and always feed into the following fall. So great to be on with you.
Let's get right to the top of the league, Texas Tech. I think everyone expected somehow, some way, they would certainly be one of the top two teams and be back in the conference title game. And with the news that Sorsby is probably going to be ruled ineligible and gambling, and he'll be punished for that, and he won't get to play at all, there's a little flashback here with Ute fans thinking, wow, I know how we felt when we had Cam Rising until we suddenly didn't 2 years in a row. One season turned into an 8-win year, another into a 5-win year because they had multiple quarterback injuries. How far can Texas Tech fall because of this?
Well, it's funny, too. I'm sure the folks in Provo are kind of feeling the same way with flashbacks around the similar time last year with Jake Retzloff. You know, they went into training camp with a wide-open competition at quarterback, and Texas Tech could be in the exact same place. I think when you mention how far could they fall, they've got a decent backup in Will Hammond, and we saw him against the Utes last year show out and really almost take the job from Baron Morton. So that's a guy they probably won't have back till around week 3 because he suffered a season-ending injury last year, a knee injury. Behind him, you got a kid named Kirk Francis as a Tulsa transfer, more of like a caretaker quarterback. You're not looking for him to be the quarterback of your CFP team. So now it's interesting, right? Finally, the NCAA has instituted some rules, and they actually seem like they mean business. You can't get a transfer now. They have a thing, almost an outlier, called a ghost transfer, which you may be familiar with. But what that is outside of the transfer portal, a player could transfer schools, and that's a way that they could get a new quarterback. But if they were to find that there was any kind of tampering, you know, Joey McGuire, as the head coach of Texas Tech, could miss a large portion of the season, or the team could be docked a portion of what they make, right, their football income and their budget. So it's a whole new ballgame for Texas Tech. I really do believe, though, like a blueprint could be what we saw last year at BYU, and you just kind of got to see if you can hold the line until you hand the keys to Will Hammond, who was a guy who you were pretty excited about last season after that Utah game. But there's also a possibility, and I just want to finish the thought with this, that, you know, now this thing plays out in court. Like you mentioned, it looks like Sorsby will be ruled ineligible. Having bet on Indiana when he was at Indiana, if all this stuff is proven, that is just a non-starter. And then if you look at, okay, do we take it to court, right? Do we file an appeal? The NCAA is somewhat vulnerable nowadays. And, you know, you file an injunction and you get a friendly Lubbock judge, maybe you can get a situation where you have Sorsby playing on a week-by-week basis maybe, but you know, it all remains to be seen. But Texas Tech, I believe they're so strong in so many other facets of their game that they won't fall too far. And it is unfortunate what's going on with Brendan Sorsby. And I know folks in Lubbock are upset because they wanted a new offensive attack, right? They wanted to be a little more aggressive. And right now it doesn't look like that'll be the case.
You look at the lose on the defensive side, 6 guys get drafted, obviously Bailey leading the way, but I think that they had their entire line was really good there, and so they have to replace that. They hit the transfer portal, get several defensive guys. I'm wondering, as you say, that they won't fall that far, because when you look at Morton, he wasn't exactly lighting it up. Now, we're just talking about Big 12. Obviously, when they got into the playoff, that offense stunk. But in terms of them being able to win the conference, I'm wondering, the first 3 games are winnable. You talk about like the kid from Tulsa. He did have 12 starts, was a walk-on at Tulsa, local kid from Tulsa comes down. If he can just hand off and they can just maintain what they need, Hammond comes back in time for conference, maybe they're okay.
I mean, and that's it. They have one of the weakest schedules in the Big 12. People joke around and say like it's a Joey Maguire type schedule. But you got Abilene Christian, Oregon State, and those are your first 2 non-con games. And you start off with Houston, and then you go to Sam Houston. I mean, those are 4 games right there where, maybe Houston's not anybody that's going to roll over. And then you have Colorado in October. So, they've got a soft start, you could say, compared to other teams in the conference, where it does set up favorably for them to kind of figure it out before Will Hammond would be able to sort of understand her. And look, that team, it reminds me when I was a kid coming up in college, and, they used to say Florida State and Bobby Bowden, they didn't recruit, they would reload. And that's really what we're seeing from Texas Tech with this budget. Again, you can't make a move now in the spring to bring in a new quarterback, but you certainly brought in plenty of high-powered guns to perform for you on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that holds the line for you.
They have a soft schedule in the sense they don't play Utah and BYU, who are second and third behind them in the standings. And they do play 3 teams that were really bad last year. Oklahoma State didn't win a game. Colorado only won 1. And West Virginia only won 2. So those teams have a lot of improvement to do. And maybe they'll do it. Maybe West Virginia will take a big jump in year 2 under Rich Rod. So I get why people are saying it's the soft schedule. But they do play Houston, Arizona, and Arizona State, who all went 6-3 in conference last year. So it's not a complete pass here.
No,
I'm a little
it's not.
surprised.
Look,
the front half of it's pretty light, except for that Houston game, and that does give Hammond a chance to get healthy.
Yeah, no, and Houston is pretty good. You return Connor Wegman. That team last year was very impressive, and the way that they bounced back. Every time you thought that you'd see them falter. Quietly, TCU's another team, right? They're the last game of Texas Tech's schedule. There are some teams in the Big 12, like almost you would call sleeper teams, who finished up with 8 or 9 wins last year, who people look at as, okay, that's a softer opponent, but it's really not. And those are sort of the rigors of the Big 12. I think one of the more interesting wrinkles to this story, and you learned this morning that Cincinnati is the possible whistleblower here, because there was a $1 million fight over a buyout. And Brendan Sorsby, we had heard about that after he had signed with Texas Tech through the transfer portal. Cincinnati wanted $1 million for a buyout, and there was a fight over that. And no surprise, now this stuff is coming to light. There's two parts to those allegations. One, people feel like Cincinnati may have had information that they covered up. And 2, they were upset about the fact that they weren't getting the $1 million that they deserved, and that, they had fought for out of Brendan Sorsby leaving. So there's a legal thing to this too that kind of forced them into this move. People are saying, and also there's one more thing. There's a Big 12 compliance-driven app that basically every student athlete has to download this. And so the Big 12 and other conferences can track your betting. It's called Prohibit or Prohibet. We'll play on words there. But so Cincinnati and other folks in the conference were possibly able to monitor some of this stuff and had seen some of it coming, which opens up a question to me, like, what took everybody so long? But nevertheless, you could see this stuff more playing out in court. But I was surprised to see that Cincinnati could have had a hand in all this. Again, that's just an allegation now, but it certainly is one that makes sense.
I'm still a little bit leery that they can't get anybody, because Cody Campbell's brother's cousin's uncle's friend can just go to somebody and say, and how can the NCAA stop somebody from over the summer just stop going to class at one school and say, well, I want to go here? and I'm just going to go there. And I have the right to go to whichever college I choose as long as my academics are in order and they accept me. And so, the McGuire and his folks can't do anything, but Cody Campbell's brother's uncle's son's cousin's friend can do it.
It is kind of funny. If you're Texas Tech, they've taken full advantage of this system, right? And now they're in desperate need of some help, and they run into a wall with like the first rule ever in 5 years. They're like, wait, what? What are you talking about? And I think you're exactly right. I do anticipate some kind of legal showdown, and what we could see here, and I've been talking to people around this situation, like we could see some sort of precedent-setting move with the NCAA if Texas Tech is to get behind a player who they've offered $5 million to, and I'm still trying to figure out how that will shake out if he cannot play. But you would think that they're going to put a lot of their resources behind Brendan Sorsby to get him eligible. When you're going up against a unit like the NCAA, who a lot of people feel like have been grifters for a real long time, and they could be on their way out.
And what if everything goes, and that is kind of the Jake Retzlaff to Tulane story, and it worked, that he found his way there in the summer, and they had a great season. So that could play, but let's just assume that they stick with Hammond. He played 8 games last year, but 4 of them are either bad opponents or such a small sample size it doesn't really matter. In 4 games, he was really good against the Utes. He was really mediocre against Oklahoma State, who was terrible, so that didn't tell him anything. He had decent stats against ASU, but they lost. Looks like he was okay running the ball, but not very good throwing against Kansas. I would say Texas Tech doesn't really believe in him. That's why they brought in Sorsby. But do you think, we see freshmen to sophomores, kids improve all the time. Could this all be a blip and Hammond ends up being really good? Do you have a feel for how much he might improve here with another year?
I think that it's the same, and that's what frustrates folks at Texas Tech, right? Like, it's going to be sort of the same situation as it was last year with Barron Morton, if Will Hammond were to be the guy, which it looks like that right now with all the rules that we know about. I think that it's more of a caretaker operation. That's kind of a lame term, but like you don't ask your quarterback to do too much and you lean on the other strength of your team. Now that's a situation that puts Texas Tech right back in that college football playoff disaster that we talked about at the top of this conversation, right? Like you are pedestrian offensively and you can't score. That is a ceiling that they could hit with a quarterback like Will Hammond. You were hoping a Brendan Sorsby would help you break through that ceiling. So do you have someone that can maintain a status quo at quarterback through the regular season and what we kind of all agree on is a relatively soft schedule? You do. But is he going to take you over the mountaintop or to the mountain, right, and get you over the hump? I don't know. I don't feel great about that. And look, this is where BYU last year had an ace up their sleeve with Bear Bachmeier because they had a wild card that really no one knew how he would do. And then we see 3,500 total yards, 26 total touchdowns. We couldn't have expected it to be that good. I don't think anyone did. And I don't know that there's a player on Texas Tech's roster that could achieve like that. And there's no real question marks, right? Like we've seen Will Hammond, we've seen Kirk Francis. We hadn't seen Bear Bachmeier. And that was sort of the exciting part about it, sort of mysterious. So Texas Tech, I do feel like there is a ceiling with a guy like Will Hammond. And it could be sort of – it really shows that it'll be more difficult for them to break through this season, even though they added a piece in the offseason that they thought would be the answer. But now it looks like that answer has been eliminated, for right now at least. Who knows? It's like as the world turns with this stuff.
In this current configuration of the Big 12, trying to handicap it has been very difficult. 2 years ago, the Sun Devils, who were picked 16th, ended up winning it, and Utah and Oklahoma State, for varying reasons, both weren't very good. And then it was so embarrassing that they decided to not even have a poll the next year. And you had Houston and Arizona jump up there and maybe surprise. So try to handicap the conference this season. You put BYU too with the Retzlaff situation. I don't think very many people had them in the conference title game. But trying to handicap it going into the 26th season, that's where I think it may work in Texas Tech's advantage, is that who knows what's going to happen. The point is this conference through 2 years has been really crazy.
It has been. And sometimes I think looking at the schedule can give you an idea, right? Like of who has opportunities and who doesn't. Regardless of schedules, I like what the Utes have going, right? You got Devin Dampier coming back. Morgan Scalley's a hell of a coach. I'm actually really excited to see him get his opportunity. Houston's another one we mentioned. 10 wins, 3 losses last year. Willie Fritz is as good a coach as there is. Arizona surprised everybody last year. They finished 9-4. So there are some of these teams that have been outliers in the past, outside of Utah, those teams I mentioned, that we could see. Even Baylor. Baylor's got the best quarterback, one of the best transfer portal quarterbacks, right, outside of Sorsby, really, and DJ Lagway. And one thing that Baylor has, they got 29 incoming transfers, and they have Jake Spavital, who is probably one of the hottest offensive minds in all of college football. Like, Jake Spavital is almost the reason that people are saying Sawyer Robertson may not have gotten drafted, because they look at Robertson's numbers and they say, he was in a situation where he could elevate to that level. Now, I think Sawyer Robertson's going to make the Raiders as their third quarterback. But you look at Spavital coached Fernando Mendoza at Cal. I mean, he's a guy that is a real high-profile coach that is an ace up Baylor's sleeve, you could say. So Baylor's another team that you could find in the mix. And Rich Rod, another year at West Virginia, they finished sort of strong. But it's the same deal. I mean, DJ and PK, you guys nailed it. Like, when we come down and get ready for this season, when we're at media days, like, we don't know what side's up every year, really.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. And I think what we would all like to see, and this is me just from being a conference homer, let's win a game or two in this college football playoff, and let's get 2 Big 12 teams in there. Let's get it this year so we can have BYU and Texas Tech. Where we're not sitting here figuring out why we're hamstrung.
Yeah.
Pete Sousa joining us, host of Inside the Big 12 and the Pete Sousa Show. I think this is where football coaches get really jealous of basketball coaches, because a basketball coach in a similar situation, they got this other free agent pool with foreign players, and you might be able to pull a rabbit out of a hat by going overseas and finding somebody. At football, you don't get that. It's like they are just painted in such a corner right now at Texas Tech, and everybody here is kind of shrugging like, yeah, been there, done that, it's your turn.
Yeah, and that's why I think, that's such a good point about the foreign players, because those players there was no option for them to play college football earlier because they wanted to get paid. And so a guy like Luka Doncic would just go right to the NBA. Nowadays, a guy like Luka Doncic might be playing at BYU, right, for at least a year. And it's a different ball game now. With what you mentioned about Texas Tech and their inability to really run out and just go to the supermarket and grab a great quarterback, I do believe that's why we will see the legalities of this thing play out. Like, I've heard people around the school talk about how they're going to fight this, right, and they're going to support Brendan Sorsby, and they got a ton of resources at Texas Tech, and you get a friendly Lubbock judge like we talked about earlier, and you can get those injunctions that can keep him eligible to play. And I don't know what that looks like all year long, if that's like a situation that you want to deal with. It sounds like a bit of a roller coaster ride emotionally and physically for a football program, but that's an option for them, right, to break out all the big guns. Cody Campbell's brother's cousin's uncle, who's an amazing attorney in Lubbock, who knows the judge, right? Like that's we've seen that happen before, and that's what makes this stuff so entertaining in a kind of underbelly way.
None of us knew for sure if Indiana would go undefeated or not, even as they started piling up the wins last year. But the one thing we all know is billable hours are undefeated. That's what we know right there.
They absolutely are, yes.
Pete, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us and trying to sort out the Big 12, which really can't be sorted out. We'll have to wait for the games in the fall.
Yeah, one more thing. You know that Texas Tech will be in trouble, or that this whole thing will be ended if Brendan Sorsby enters that supplemental draft. And we will have an answer on that by June. Right. So that will kind of give us a heads up on the legality. But, DJ PK, thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are on the way.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NHL.
The Utah Mammoth lose in overtime again, this time in the second overtime period. They lose the puck right in front, right in that corner by their goal. It goes in front. Brett Howden scores, and that is it. They're beaten in double OT again. They trail 3-2. PK, giving up too many penalties, giving up too many goals, and again, they cannot protect the lead in the third period. Wash, rinse, repeat.
Sure, but they didn't have the lead, so they got the lead. There's something to be said for that. I don't know that there's
They've done that a couple times for sure.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a big difference. Obviously, 2 game-winning goals in overtime the last couple games. It's not sitting well with me because then I come in even more tired and more grumpy the next day.
Right, we're all feeling it. Oh,
hey, do the overtime as much as you want on Friday night. I don't care.
And you're right about the start time. Could it start at 7:30 instead of 8:15 or 8:20? Save us 45 minutes at the end of the night. These things are going late.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's the best product, and it's at a time when a lot of people can't watch it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, that these games have been very dramatic, very exciting and thrilling. And, when it's starting at midnight, 1 o'clock back east, whatever it might be, ending, I should say, they're not probably not getting the bang for their buck. But I think that's sort of indicative of what happens in the first round on our side of the country. And as you weed through it, you don't have to wait for those because there's not another game and all that stuff. But for now, it is. And it's not like it's a flip of a coin because I feel like Las Vegas is just a little bit better. And that's how the series is reflected.
And I think that it also underlines the fact that these teams were in the middle of the league in the season, and now they're matched up. The series has been tied 1-1. The series is tied 2-2. The game was tied 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, 4-4. Yeah, they're evenly matched. This is who they are. There's not much separating them. They're in the middle of the league. And in the regular season, Vegas was a little better, and now in these playoff games, they've been a little better.
Yeah, I think.
But still time to turn it around. Got to win these last 2.
It's probably a long shot, but you don't look at it that way. You just simply look at winning Friday and then you travel back down to Vegas if you're fortunate enough to be in that situation, and you see what happens.
Philly finished Pittsburgh off. The Penguins are out 1-0 in overtime. Philly wins the series in 6. Montreal leads Tampa 3-2 after a 3-2 win. And Edmonton and Anaheim waiting for the winner of this Vegas-Utah series. Anaheim will try to close it out in Game 6 at home tonight. Edmonton trying to force a 7th game back in Edmonton. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
Strus on the inbounds to Dennis Schroeder. What a performance tonight for Schroeder. Out of Germany. Schroeder, 3-ball. Got it! Oh, my! Dennis Schroeder, the shooter.
Cade will drive it. Cade stops and fires. Fills it up! Cade Cunningham with 31.3 seconds left. And he has just set a career playoff single-game scoring high with 45 points. The previous record held by the great Dave Bing with 44.
Left side of Jabari, low block left at Şengün, 1-on-1 against Hayes. Coming to help out, left side Jabari for a contested 3! 6 in a row! Timeout Los Angeles! And that will give the Rockets a 13-point lead.
Rockets hold on and win 99-93. They beat the Lakers. It's now 3-2. It was 3-0, but the Rockets with back-to-back wins and How did the Lakers' big dog shoot the three, PK? How did that work for them? They got Austin Reeves back. They're still missing Doncic, but not good for LeBron and Austin.
Reeves were 4 of 20 and 2 of 8. Actually, 2 of 10 from 3. I mean, Kennard he's not that good. And he'd had some really good games, and he came back to earth. Marcus Smart is not in the league for his scoring. LeBron is not a three-point shooter. It's the way I look at, not to say that he's going to be the same, but we can pick at A.J. Dybantsa's lack of ability to consistently make the three. Well, LeBron has been that way the whole 27 years he's played in the league. Like, he's 0 for 6. He's 9 of 20, but he's 0 for 6 from 3. So do the math. What would that be?
9 of 14. Look at him go.
Yeah. Get to the line.
65%.
You still have the strength and all that, but for some reason, somebody, some nerd in some tech school says you got to shoot threes, and they go 7 of 27, 26%. And the Rockets make 14. So they double them up in the threes, and I think that's basically the difference.
Yeah, the Rockets did take a lot more threes. I mean, they took 40 of them, but 35% you can live with. The 26 is going to get you beat, and it did. So now there's a Game 6 back in Houston in that series.
Well, and Doncic said, I read that he went back to Europe or something for his treatment. I mean, the fact is, if he's not there, this team is not a threat to do anything serious.
True story. You heard Cade Cunningham, 45 points. The Pistons stay in contention here. They make it 3-2 now. They're still in a hole against Orlando, and they got to go back there for Game 6. But the 1 seed in danger of getting embarrassed at home and getting knocked out in 5, which would, and they still may go down here in the 6th or 7th game, but they fought back for 1 game and won it. Not a great shooting night for Donovan Mitchell, but enough. The Cavs beat the Raptors 125-120, so they're up 3-2.
Yeah, they were down, and Schroeder was watching the end of that game, and he was in most of all the time, and Mitchell was actually not playing as they were doing. I mean, Schroeder took over in the fourth quarter, and Murrell was out there, and then I think with about 3 minutes to go, they subbed Murrell out for Mitchell, but keep the hot hand, and at that point, Schroeder had it going on.
Got 3 series that are 3-2. Game 6 is tonight. A bunch of teams with a chance to close it out. The Knicks are in Atlanta trying to win the series. The Celtics are in Philly trying to win the series. And Minnesota is at home, obviously minus a couple of players, including their star. And they're trying to close out Denver up 3-2. So all those games coming up tonight. Steve Kerr, the Golden State Warriors met, no decision. So in a couple weeks, they'll talk about it again. What are they waiting on? Bum, bum, bum. Well, we'll see.
Oh, he can come back. They're not going to go anywhere. This is a story that's been played out over time many times. The star player who achieved the ultimate. Everybody wants him to retire in the uniform that he's made famous. And so you just have to play it out. And that's whether next year or the year after. Curry wants to keep playing. And you can't tell them no, but they're not going to be good enough next year. I don't care who's coaching them.
Isn't this a great example of what we were talking about with David Locke on Friday about Walker Kessler, and you can't afford to overpay people no matter how good they are. They have to be paid properly, and Curry's good, but is he $60 million worth of good?
Well, yeah,
really,
but I mean,
that's a $40 million player, and there's $20 million you need to rebuild your roster, and you can't go spend it on somebody because he's got it.
I know, but you do that as for a reflection of gratitude.
It's for what he's done his whole career.
Yeah,
right back
and
on
then it's a storybook career, and he gets to go out as a Warrior. Kobe got to go out as a Laker, and
nobody else in the West has to worry about the Warriors winning playoffs.
Then you start the rebuild. The Nowitzki went out a Maverick, blah blah blah, and essentially the Jazz did that. Obviously with Stockton, he went out and Malone still had a little left in the tank. They had to go through that rebuild, and they bottomed out, losing to the Kings, I think, in the first round. And it just happens this way. They're no different than anybody else.
Nope. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
A.J. Dybantsa revealed his new signature Nike logo as he preps for the NBA draft. Marketing, PK. Marketing opportunities. What's that? What's the individual logo going to look at? After Jumpman, everybody's got to have one, right?
Yeah, I don't care what the logo looks like, but I love what the bank account looks like.
Bank account is good and getting better.
Sure. I mean, this kid and his family are going to be loaded beyond what maybe they did imagine it, I don't know, but nevertheless, they're going to be loaded.
Iowa State, TJ Otzelberger, a 10-year contract extension. His salary goes up to $6 million. He took over a team that won just a couple of games. Now he's got a 124-53 record. They love where they are, and he gets interest from big programs sniffing around him. Rumors linking him to Indiana, rumors linking him to North Carolina, but he got a big old extension, a big old raise, so at least another year with him. Who knows? There's probably outs in it too, so never say never, I guess. But 10 years and the salary bumps to $6 million.
Sure, and I'm hoping with that money he can buy polo shirts that are a little bit bigger.
Get out of that medium.
Yeah, I get it, man. You got the biceps and the triceps. We've seen it. Good for you, man. I'm just doing push-ups on the side. And away you go there. And they've had a really good program for a number of years since he's been there. He had a 70% winning percentage, I think it was, or is.
DJ and PK.
#NFL.
Let's not get it twisted. We're trying to win right now, and we've got decisions for the short and the long term. And sometimes leadership can be lonely. I'm not going to pretend to make perfect decisions, but everything that we do is what we believe is in the best intent for the collective with all of our values and principles at hand. And that was what this decision led into. And is it right? We felt like it was right for us, but there was a lot of other guys that made it a difficult decision for us without a doubt.
That's Sean McVay. Basically answering the question, you got an elite quarterback. He's probably going to the Hall of Fame. He's only got a year or two left. Why draft for the future? Why not draft somebody who makes you better right now? Because you were very close to winning another Super Bowl last year. And this isn't going to move the needle forward in the next year or two. Maybe it will down the line, get 3, 4, 5 years out. So there's his answer. Why not go for it right now when they're so close, PK?
I don't know. I was trying to follow him, man. He's talking so dang fast.
Yeah. Sounded kind of like he was trying to convince himself.
That one's not even sped up either.
Yuck, working your magic.
Well, I don't have any problem with it. The franchise needs to look to the future when you got a quarterback who's over 35 and you think you can get somebody who might be there for you down the line. What's so wrong with that? I mean, it's just like you're going to take one player in that pick where they took the kid from Alabama, and whoever you would have taken would have just changed the course of your franchise and just elevated it to where you are the dominant team, the Patriots at their best under Tom Brady, or whoever it might be, the Steelers adding another Super Bowl back in the 70s, or the Cowboys in the 90s. I just, there was really... If you would have, whoever would you have taken, he would have made that big of a difference. I'm not sure I buy that. And you have an opportunity. Who knows if the kid's going to pan out. So you go in that direction, and you got somebody, and at least there's a plan there. And he learns for a couple years, or whatever it might be. Really, I mean, if they would have taken fill in the blank player, that was going to be such a difference maker. They're already a good team.
They are already a good team. Could have gotten somebody who helped them be better this year. Or maybe this is going to look down the line and think that was genius by the Rams, because now they're going to hand off the quarterback position the way the Packers have handed off a couple times. Ever bottoming out and going on some 5-year search, starting 5 guys in 5 years, looking for the next starter. Maybe they get to avoid that.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Former BYU running back, Tyler Algier, went to Arizona. Now the shakeout, playing time and all that. In the post-draft analysis, he's been labeled the NFL draft loser because it looked like he could be the feature back in Arizona, but they draft Jeremiah Love 3rd overall, so he probably drops down the depth chart again. And Deshaun Watson reported taking the lead in the Browns QB race with Shedeur Sanders 2nd as they set their depth chart. So we move from the draft to depth charts now, PK.
Well, I think if Deshaun Watson is healthy, he's the guy.
That is where that seems headed. Texans gave Pro Bowl linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair a 3-year extension worth $54 million. So he's the guy. $54 million. Look out. And the NFL distributing crew assignments to the regular referees this week amid indications of continued progress towards a deal on a new collective bargaining agreement with the NFL Referees Association. So we may not have replacement refs. See how that goes. DJ PK.
Hashtag college football.
It's interesting next year, the opportunity for the 1 seed to pick its path, the location of its quarterfinal bowl and the location of its semifinal bowl, and then the 2 seed to have a quarterfinal bowl option and obviously placed in the semifinal bowls.
There's Greg Sankey. They're working on what the playoff format looks like. Now the top teams get to pick their bowls, PK. So maybe you want less travel for your fans. Maybe somebody in the Big Ten wants to go to the Rose Bowl because of the tradition all these years, and that would satisfy an alumni base, but they're going to get to choose. So,
well, you can pick your bowls, but you can't pick your friends' bowls.
Yeah. With these conferences, in many cases, being so big, you can see why a team, just to sign it could be rough because it could be basically a home game for one team and then a cross-country game for somebody else in the same conference. It's not as nice and neat as it used to be.
Yeah, I don't care about any of that stuff. Play the games.
Nick Saban backs the school, giving Kalen DeBoer a contract extension. It's going to pay him $12.5 million, saying he understood why they're doing it. But DeBoer rumored to be linked to that Michigan job before Kyle Whittingham took it. So,
I got a Saban story that I saw yesterday. Morgan Wallen is a big-time country artist, right? He sells out stadiums multiple nights at these places, right? And what he always does, as he walks out from these stadiums, which are usually football stadiums, he has somebody local or locals with him, and he'll usually come out in the jersey of whatever that particular venue is, who the home team is, right? So the other day, he's over there at Alabama, right? And he come out walking with him is Nick Saban. And so Nick Saban was on Feinbaum. I saw this on Twitter, so I saved it. And Feinbaum asked him about it, walking out with Morgan Wallen. He says, and it's at the Alabama Stadium, he says, that's the first time I've ever walked down that tunnel, and there was no consequence in terms of winning and losing a game. So that was fun. And I really enjoyed having the time backstage with those guys, which was the locker room. That was our locker room. Great band, great group of guys. A lot of them were former athletes, and this is me. Now I'll pick up the quote here in a second. But Wallen actually played high school baseball and just donated a couple million or something to the high school team for whatever. I think they won a state title when he was a junior, right? So he's a former baseball player. So back to Saban. A lot of them were former athletes. It was a lot of fun. They actually got in a big huddle, and I gave them a halftime ass chewing, told them that they needed to get in gear.
That'd be awesome. Get cussed out by Nick Saban, man. You bleepers, get out there and bleep and entertain people. Let it rip. Don't want you holding back.
Yeah.
That's funny. That had to be pretty cool for them. In the Alabama locker room with Nick Saban letting him have it.
Yeah.
All right, DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Montgomery lines into center, drops down. Vargas on his way home. Ball game over. 3-2 and 10.
There goes Ozzie. 1-2 pitch. Swung on, hit well. Deep right field to the wall. And it's gone! Rolling thunder out of the ballpark. And the Braves win it. As Matt Olson just swung the hammer at that Jansen pitch, and he drills it out of the ballpark. Braves win!
The Braves walk it off. The Braves have the best record in all of baseball. They're red hot. They can do no wrong right now. They get the win over Detroit 4-3. Another team that's hot, Seattle, back to 500. They have won 6 of their last 7 games. They beat Minnesota 5-3. They're 500, which in that division puts them just a game out of first place. So, a couple teams rolling right now, PK.
Did you see the way the Dodger game ended yesterday?
I did not.
Oh, so They're down.
Oh, it did, yeah. The Bizarro double play.
Yes.
An unassisted double play.
I'm watching the game. They're doing the cut-in, right?
Yeah.
And they're bouncing back and forth between the Padre Cub game and the Marlin Dodger game because they're both in the afternoon, right? And so they don't have them on, but they're cutting in on the network, on the baseball network. And they load the bases. And who was it? Freeman comes up. And I think they walk Ohtani to load the bases. There's guys on second and third with one out. And so he hits a grounder to second, kind of where the second baseman, Edwards, is moving over towards first. And Ohtani doesn't run, but then backs up. And then he backs up towards first base. And he makes the tag on Ohtani. And then does a long stretch, basically, a long stride to step on the bag at first. And then they reviewed it, and he got Freeman in time. So that was one of the more bizarre double plays you'll ever see in that situation. It's just weird.
And the tying run is racing home from third, so he's got to get it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, what did I just see there? Wasn't sure. You had to look at it, and they reviewed it, and sure enough, got him in time, and the game was over.
First time Miami's won a series in L.A. since 2018, but they take that series. And the Angels lose to the White Sox 3-2. That is 6 losses in a row for the Angels, and it seems like it's wash, rinse, repeat with them. That was a nice little start, but now we're 30-whatever games in, and they're 8 games under 500 and seem to be headed nowhere again. Even in a division that's pretty forgiving, it looks like Mike Trout, this is just the die has been cast. There doesn't seem to be a way to change the script.
Or the cast has died, one or the other.
No. See what you did there. That was clever.
Thank you.
You're
welcome.
The Bees lose to Sacramento 17-7. Nice football score right there. Game 3 tonight, 6:35. Listen on The Zone. Tony Parks on the call on 1280 The Zone. DJ and PK.
#golf.
PGA Tour's in Miami this week for the Cadillac Classic at Trump National Doral. No locals in the field, so you don't have any rooting interest from that point. The big news is Live Golf is losing the financial backing from Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund after this season. They're seeking alternative funding. Players are looking for a path back to the PGA, and the PGA is trying to play it cool. How many of these guys will they take back? What do you think, PK? 2, 3?
Well, Rahm and DeChambeau are the biggest names.
Those two.
There's some other guys out there that
Cameron
I'm aware
Smith,
of.
maybe next was the other guy I was thinking.
Joaquin Neiman. I mean, there's players on that thing. Oosthuizen. So this I never really got into it, and I gave it a shot, but it was just like watching exhibition golf. Like, okay, you're playing and you're really good. I get it, but what are you playing for? What's the point?
Right.
I couldn't come up with a point. I correlated it to like the last week of spring training, where the guys don't get one bat and they're out at bat. As you get in the first week. The season starts next week, so you're playing and you're trying to do well, but it still doesn't count. And that's what I have with the Live. They're playing. I've watched it. Been on Saturday nights. I've watched it. Because, what the heck, but they're not really playing for anything that matters.
You think Phil really has a crisis in his personal life, or did he get a heads up a couple weeks earlier and just backed away and let it crash?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe the die was off.
I mean, he took shots at them, and so he's kind of getting whipped here a little bit. I mean, his legend on the PGA Tour is secured. It's not like he was going to add to it. I'm biased. I'm a Phil guy. But so if he goes away and is never heard from again, he'll still be a Hall of Fame golfer with multiple majors, and who wouldn't have taken that?
Yep. Utah finished 6th in the Big 12 Men's Golf Championship. BYU 7th. Kia Akina, BYU's freshman, finished 2nd. Sergio Jimenez from Utah finished 3rd. So a couple of local golfers, we'll see. They're pretty good in college. We'll see where they go later on in their careers, PK, but a couple names to remember.
Well, I think Akina is destined for the PGA Tour. I'd be surprised if he wasn't. Yeah. He'll have the back.
He's already made a cut.
Yeah, and he's played in multiples. And he missed the first Black Desert by a stroke, if I remember.
Yep.
So, yeah, he's been out there. He's been like our Utah version of Tiger Woods in terms of he's a kid I heard about a long time ago, even though he's only a freshman several years ago, and he just has to play his way and go by, kind of like Bryce Harper that I'd heard about him as a 12-year-old. It's like, okay, he's got to get to 13, he's got to get to 15, blah, 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 and then when the time comes, he'll go to the big leagues, and that's what happens. That's what I'm expecting of this young man, too.
What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Coming up, Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer for ESPN. We will talk Stanley Cup playoffs and Game 6 with him. And Chris Level, Texas Tech analyst and sideline reporter, host of Locked On Texas Tech, will join us at 9 o'clock as the Red Raiders try to figure out how they're going to negotiate this upcoming season. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The playoffs are back in Utah. In only their second year in Salt Lake City, the Utah Mammoth are in the NHL playoffs, and your home of every second of every moment of Utah Mammoth hockey is right here. On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, as the Mammoth make their run to a Stanley Cup. Keep it right here on the Zone for the best coverage of Mammoth hockey. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Join Scotty G and the coach tomorrow, 10 to 2. They're going to be at Next Gen Motors' grand opening at their new location at 590 North State Street in Linden. DJ and PK, it is time for the question of the day. Bring your hot takes. PK, Yahoo reports the Big 12 has a private equity deal with Redbird Capital. Schools can opt in for capital credit line for $30 million each. Should they do it? Bum, bum, bum. Scott, well, we know BYU's not going to be involved. They got their $30 million if they need it. There's been a speculation that maybe as many as a half dozen schools would do this. Devin says absolutely not. What a total waste.
Why?
He does not explain why.
What's the downside?
Well, it has been explained that this isn't a typical private equity deal. It seems more like this is an investment because they never get to own any of the schools or any of the conference. So it's not like that Redbird Capital is bought in. It's some type of we'll front you the money. It's a joint investment, and there's a payback. So it's kind of like a loan, except they're supposed to help you make money.
The rates are under 10% is what they're saying on the return.
Yeah. Now, that still seemed high to me.
Oh, it is high, yes.
But it could be higher, to your point, Yak, right? It could be higher.
Well, think about it as a credit card. It's like essentially you're getting a line of credit, 10% rate on it, and obviously, to your point, DJ, you're trying to obviously make money together, but this is ultimately having to be paid back by the school or the conference.
Brady, never get involved with private equity groups. Chowder, honestly, no. NIL's ruined college sports, but I get schools like the U can't compete with the Michigans of the world.
I don't think NIL has ruined college sports.
Do you think that schools like the U can compete with the Michigans of the world?
Could they ever compete with the Michigans of the world?
I believe the answer to that is in the short run, yes, but on the highest stage, no.
They may beat them time or two if they're down.
And they're 3-1 against them in the 4 times they played them, which have all been in the last 25 years.
Yeah,
so
they did in
they can
football.
do that. But when you're the Pac-12 champ and you run into the Big Ten champ or runner-up at the highest level, it hasn't gone well.
Yeah, I think that you can compete with them when they screw up.
Yes, if they're not at their best, if they're playing their B-plus game, you can beat them. But with all their money and resources and fame, fortune, and all the branding and all the power of all that, when they're playing their A game, you're in trouble.
Yeah, did anyone turn down Kyle Whittingham from Utah or BYU?
No, not that we know of. Everybody went.
And they all got substantial raises.
Yeah, and see, that's where the $30 million, you get the line of credit, but what are you going to use it for that you're going to make the kind of money to pay it back that's going to move you ahead and close the gap? Because a lot of people look at it as paying NIL, and I just don't see how that's going to close the gap. I mean, you pay it, you get the players. They're here for maybe just 1 year. I mean, certainly the basketball players can go in a year, but even the football players, if you're getting a transfer, they might be gone in a year or two, whatever.
Well,
not very long.
Sure, it depends on
their
if they want to
eligibility
stay and their eligibility.
Right. So that's where if you're doing something like we hear the U is going to do at the Huntsman Center, whether you build a new one or you rebuild a facility, and there's some way where you could generate a lot of cash, maybe that makes more sense than going out and getting bonds and all that. I'm getting over my skis here. But that, to me, at least it makes sense on the surface. I don't know enough. Maybe if you dove into it, it wouldn't make much sense. But that kind of stuff, I kind of see the logic there. If you've got to do something to your facility that's going to generate a lot more money, I mean, Kansas just redid their football stadium. That kind of thing can generate a lot of cash. If you need the $30 million to get one of those projects across the finish line, all right, maybe that's a good idea. That to use it for NIL, man, on the surface, I'd have to be convinced.
Well, I don't think you're competing with those extreme elite level programs. I think you're competing with teams in your conference.
I think, yes, that, and I think that also you're trying to prep your place so that when whatever scramble happens in the early 2030s, with all the TV deals up and the college basketball, NCAA basketball tournament deal is coming up, and almost everybody, the Big Ten, except the Big Ten, is up. They're up in the middle of the next decade. You need to be in as good a place as possible to get whatever the best result is possible for your school.
Well, and to your point, DJ, I don't know if you saw this in the story. This Redbird Capital Group owns Paramount Global, which is the parent company of CBS and soon-to-be TNT Sports.
So are they about to bet on sports and get in a big way? And if you work with them, they'll take care of you in 5 years.
In what way?
Include them. Push them across the finish line.
Include them in what?
More money in
whatever this new.
But you're still not going to be able to compete. Utah can get in the Big Ten all it wants. Purdue is in the Big Ten. Rutgers is in the Big Ten. I can go down the list of 7-8 schools that are in the Big Ten and getting the same amount of money for the TV deals as everybody else, but they're not competing. And what makes Utah think all of a sudden it's going to be able to compete at that level? It can be a really good program, but is it ever going to compete nose to nose, head to head with Ohio State and Oregon year after year after year?
The easy answer is no, and I would normally say no, but the only thing that gives me pause right now is that's what I would have said about Indiana, and look at the last 2 years. So I think the boosters who run the boosters who support the program, the presidents who run the schools are thinking, get in, and then we'll try to figure it out. And obviously Indiana did these last couple of years. Now the odds are you're way more likely to end up like Rutgers and Maryland and
I don't think those are the
odds.
I disagree on that. You can have a really solid program, but are you going to be the last team standing?
Seems unlikely. Seems very unlikely.
Yeah.
But you want to get in that group and then figure it out once you're in that group.
It's like Majera said after they went to the final, we didn't move any closer to Los Angeles.
Yeah, and he was right. That was the high water mark. It's been all downhill from there.
So they're in a good spot. Both these programs are good. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm not downgrading them whatsoever. I'm just thinking, if you're thinking cash is all of a sudden going to make you Ohio State, I don't see it.
No. It's more, do you need the cash to do something specific that's going to make you better? And if you're rebuilding something that generates money every year, like a football stadium or a basketball arena, I get it. After that, I'm having a hard time seeing it. But maybe I just need it explained to me because, again, getting out into this area, a little over my skis, not what I do.
You can build the fanciest stadium and the fanciest arena that you want. And what do you have? You have a fancy stadium and a fancy arena. I think the Utes in the 90s did awfully well in the Huntsman Center. And now I'm going to give them a new arena or I'm going to modernize it. And, yeah, it can give you more money and go ahead and do that. But that's all it does. It's like it's a power play in hockey. All right. You've got a man advantage. But if you don't score, did you have any advantage?
Or if you give up the game-winning goal shorthanded, how was it? Hey-oh. We'll get to that. It's coming.
They should try to get on the other side. And if it's the formation of Big 12, Big 10, I should say, and SEC and whatever they want to call it, you want to be on the inside. Okay, yeah. I think you have a good shot to be on the inside if you did nothing. Both of your programs. You play big-time football. Place is packed. You've had some really good wins and so forth. And I don't see where that's going to change. And that's fine. Strive to be the best you can be. That zero problem. Utah built a nice baseball stadium. I was there last weekend. It rocked. I thought it was just gorgeous. And they had a thing where you could take your dog. And we took our dog and out on the berm there. And I told the guys at Utah, Ryan, the guys in charge of baseball, I said, hey, I want to come by and I want to check out your facility because I hadn't been there yet. And it was my intent to get up there this season. And so I went up there in the press box and the luxury suites they have down the third base line. It's awesome. All right, I thought it was absolutely beautiful, and they're going to play. They've actually been playing high school games there. Hopefully they get an opportunity to play high school playoff games and all that. I think the kids would really enjoy it. Beautiful stadium. They're doing what they need to do, right? And now, hopefully for them, they can get better players and have a really good baseball program. It's hard in a cold weather spot. We understand that, but it's been done. But it's still hard. We're still out in the middle of nowhere. We don't produce a lot of MLB players that come through the high school ranks in the state. It's all, but they've got a beautiful facility, man. I can't say enough about it. I was thoroughly impressed. So they're doing all they can, and they deserve, or speaking specifically of Utah, in my mind, they absolutely deserve to be in if it comes down to some type of cut line. They deserve to be on the inside of the cut line. And go ahead and do it and get as much money, be as good as you can. I just don't see them being the elite of the elite consistently.
I'd agree with that.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There isn't. If you could get in the Big Ten and go 9-3 and finish sixth, it'd still be a good year. You'd be frustrated with the 5 teams in front of you. But if you were 9-3 overall and 6-3 in conference, you'd get to play a bunch of the big boys. People would be super excited.
Right. And they'll win some of those games. And they'll have some times where things will work. It's just that, you have to look at the other programs that got these enormous advantages. And as Ryan Day said, if you're not a first rounder, we're not interested in recruiting you. So I don't know how much it will change. I think they get in, and hopefully they do get in, and hopefully BYU gets in too. And they're still going to have to go about getting the so-called diamond in the rough to an extent. Not always. They can get guys, but you have to outfit everywhere. Ohio State's outfitting 5 stars all over the place.
Yes. The diamond in the rough is relative.
And that's great. And that's how you've done that extremely successful. And I have no reason to think that you won't. They're in a good spot. They play good football. People are excited about it. I've been to so many games over the years. It's a great program. I'd be content with that. Basketball needs to get it going. Hopefully they can. BYU, same thing. They got basketball going to an extent. This Bruce Branch, so you look on mock drafts in 27, and he's tweeting out, it's good to be home. Who would have thought Bruce Branch? I don't even know where he's from, but now Provo's home, at least for the next 10 months.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good. And they pack the place, and these are good times, man. For Utah football, basketball, not so much, and for BYU, both sports. These are good times. And I think that, be happy where you're at. But that doesn't mean you don't strive to continually be better. You should. But let's not go crazy and all of a sudden expect that you're going to be on that level.
DJ and PK, when we come back, a lot of you reacting to the Mammoth. Another overtime loss. We will get to that next. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Stay with us.
Turn it up. Let's go. It's a new era for sports radio in Utah. This is the all-new KSL Sports Zone. As always, DJ and PK kick off your mornings from 6 to 10. Then introducing the newest addition to the KSL Sports Zone. The coach, Tim Lacombe, joins Scotty G every day from 10 to 2. And as you wrap up your day, Jake Scott and Ben Anderson are there with the best sports talk in Utah from 2 to 6. Live and local, all day, every day. Your home for the best sports radio in Utah is live, on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The Utah Mammoth get beat. Your reaction to another overtime loss, and can this series get any more dramatic? Ricky, I can't believe it. What a game.
Yeah.
Game 6 Friday. Winner go make ice cubes.
Actually, winner go golf.
Yeah, there it is. Win or go golf.
Yeah, I mean, what the Bear just said. The only thing is that the power play just isn't working the way it needs to. You know, they're way behind league average there, and obviously
14.
they've allowed a couple of goals that really stand out when they have the advantage, and that's like going 5 for 20 from the free throw line or something. You know, it's just you're not expected to do that, and if it happens, it's a huge boost for the other team. But other than that, and I don't claim to be a hockey expert by any stretch, but I do have some experience covering it way back when, and so this is what I'm seeing, and it's hard to just come down on these guys for so many of them, not all of them, but some of them being in the spot for the first time and all. You know, if you're getting beat 5-0, that's another story. But that's not happening, obviously. And, you know, I was looking last night as they score, and then, boom, the Golden Knights come back and tie it up. And then they score, and then, boom, the Golden Knights come back and tie it up. And then in the second instance, actually take the lead. If there could have been a way to maybe build a little separation, put a little more heat on the Golden Knights. But, you know, you're up by 1 goal, and you're in the second period. Well, that's like being down by 1 run in the third inning. You know?
Yeah,
it's not that big of a deal.
Okay, if you want to go with the baseball analogies, in baseball they always say whenever you have have one of those momentum-changing innings, it's important you go put up a 0 in the next half inning, right? Don't let them bounce right back.
Or you come back and you score in your inning.
And in the second period, when they go up 2-1 and there's like 5 minutes left in the period, you're thinking, all right, ask him to win the game 2-1. There's a long way to go and a lot's going to happen. But at least protect that thing to the locker room. And not only give up 1, they gave up 2.
They did.
Now, the good thing is this team can take a punch because they came back and scored 2 and retook the lead. But I think that the point that really needs to be underlined is the power play. They've given up a couple of shorthanded goals in this series.
Exactly.
And they're 1 for 14 on the power play.
Yeah, I know.
They're getting outscored when they have a man advantage.
They have been.
I mean, you don't need deep knowledge of the sport to realize that is a major problem.
It is. I think that's the difference.
I got a stat for you guys.
Hit it.
From OptaStats, in NHL history, there have been 29 instances of a team trailing in the third period each of the first 5 games of the series. Of those 29 teams, 28 were behind in the series or had already lost the series after 5 games. The lone exception, the Vegas Golden Knights this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just think they're just a little bit better. And across the board, they have a little more experience. They've got NHL Stanley Cup winners. They've got Olympic gold medalists, and they've got it on the bench too. And so this is a process. It seems like this is a necessary go through. Be furious about it, and then come back next year and just take that and like, okay, now we got this under our belt. Now we're ready to make the next move. And right now, you're going through it's a difficult learning experience, but you can argue it's a necessary experience here. And the arrow in direction that it's pointing, irregardless of what happens tomorrow, doesn't change at all. So you have to you go the micro and the macro at the same time, right? And what is the one in the short term? Is it the micro?
Yes.
Yeah, right. And so this is a hard lesson. But in the macro, has anything changed? Has the outlook, has the optimism, has any of that been altered whatsoever? I don't see it based on what they tell us on these guys that they got coming up.
It's what Bill Armstrong has said since we spoke to him the first time. It's a process. It's going to play out over a number of years. And you don't really want that. You want what the Golden Knights had because Vegas got to go to the Stanley Cup final the first year. Although they did lose it, they did eventually win a Stanley Cup a few years later.
Yeah.
So I guess in the short run, then the thing is have these guys have as many experience as possible and assume that somehow that's going to pay off in the long run. All right, well, now you're playing an elimination game for the first time. So try to figure out how to win that. All that'll get you is another elimination game on Sunday in Game 7. Okay, well, then you'll have your first experience in a Game 7 because those are supposed to be the most chaotic thing in the entire NHL universe.
Well, I would say in the entire universe.
The entire universe,
yes.
The most chaotic.
You want chaotic? Yeah.
Game 7 versus an Ironman triathlon. What is more
It's
chaotic?
like you and all the paychecks are flowing in. What do I do with all this money?
Oh, if only. That'd be awesome.
It's a chaotic situation.
Chaotic.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what they got going. And right now, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is the focus on Friday. And who's to say they can't win that? That's all I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Well, I guess the other thing that's happening is the whole time Bill Armstrong and his staff have their eye on it, like where, they're much better, but they need to get even better than this. Where are the holes? Where do they need to improve? And big games, pressure games, help reveal that kind of stuff. I mean, no one game is going to decide that, but this is one more chance to make your mark. All the players know, everybody around the league is watching. What's the market for you? Whether you're trying to stay in the league or whether you're trying to get some big money long-term deal. And Bill's sitting there thinking about trade. So every one of these games reveals a little more something to him, you suppose.
He's got his eye on the organization.
There it is. We end with a rock-solid organization. All right, DJ and PK, we'll take a break. When we come back, more on the NHL playoffs, Game 6 Friday night. We'll talk with Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer for ESPN. And coming up at 9 o'clock, Chris Level, Texas Tech analyst and sideline reporter, host of Locked On Texas Tech. Stay with us.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
DJ PK and Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer for ESPN, joining us. Greg, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I just drove back last night from Philadelphia, and I mentioned that because the Flyers are an inexperienced playoff team that had to learn how to close out their opponents.
Nice.
I don't know if that's relevant to the Mammoth.
I see where you're going.
But I think you do know, Greg. That's why you couldn't wait to blurt that out.
Yeah,
they've had the lead in the third period of every game, and yet they trail 3-2. So I guess the first question is, in the East Coast, are people even staying up and watching this? I mean, games are ending at midnight here, so it's 2 a.m. there. How much are people even aware on that side of the country of what's going on over here?
Well, I can say as a guy who likes to have a beer after a game, I've definitely watched at least one of these games in the lobby of a Marriott. I don't know how many people are staying up to watch, but I think if they aren't, then they're missing one of the most entertaining series in the league right now. Not only because of the speed and the enthusiasm with which the Mammoth play, but also just seeing this cagey veteran Golden Knights team refusing to go down quietly against an opponent that's definitely an upstart. I think it's been one of the more compelling series. It's certainly been one of the more dramatic series based on what we've seen in the last 2 games with the overtimes. So I'm hoping my friends on the East Coast have decided to brew a little espresso at like 11 at night to stay up for these games because they've been awesome.
Well, Greg, you're on the DJ and PK show, and I'm the PK version of it, and you don't know this, but you're about to know it. You're one of my brothers because you're a Monmouth County guy. I was born in Essex and raised in Morris, so it's good to have you on, brother.
That is beautiful. Central. For those who don't know, there's a lot of controversies in New Jersey. One of them is, does Central New Jersey exist? The people in the north believe that it is all south below them. The people in the south believe it is all north above them. The people who grew up in Monmouth County, New Jersey, know that there's a beautiful band of the most beautiful, smartest people in New Jersey called Central New Jersey, and that's where we're from.
Yeah, Central always gets it because you got Princeton in there and whatnot. It always is and Trenton. It is the smartest of the three distinct areas, the three divisions that we have in that state. So I've been telling some of my cousins, you got to watch this. Mammoth team was texting last night. It is on late, but, it's fun. It's fun for us to have something. The Jazz obviously have not been in the position to be a playoff team. We'll see what they do next year. And so now we've been able to focus on this in only the second year, and it's really cool. And I think that one of the things I was going to use the very word you said, upstart, and I think that's exactly what the Mammoth are. And I just think that Vegas right now is a sliver better, probably going to win the series, maybe even win it 4-3. And if you go big picture, some progress is made for the Mammoth. I think you would agree.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see about the result. I'll get to that in a second. But, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is the kind of season you have to have when you're a team on the rise as a contender. And, I mean, the excitement is to see what Dylan Gunther does in the playoffs, to see Logan Cooley making plays, to see, a lot of these players kind of elevate their games to the right time. And to know that it's just the beginning, to know that, Ryan and Ashley Smith are obviously, I've already shown a propensity for wanting to spend and make this team even better. And I think Bill Armstrong has shown slowly but surely a propensity for dealing away maybe some of those assets that he's built over the last several seasons to improve the roster. But then again, on the same note, and I've talked to Bill about this myself, there's an entire pipeline of players we haven't even seen yet come up with the Mammoth, and that could easily be the next wave that really pushes this team to cup contention. But I don't know, it's 2 overtime games. It's a hard education about how to close out an opponent. I don't think they're done. I will say that they need more from Vejmelka, if I'm being honest with you. I think if you look at the underlying numbers in the last 2 games, he's been in the negative insofar as goals saved above expected. The bad news for the Mammoth is that Carter Hart had his best game of the series, I thought, last night. So if the goaltending is all of a sudden trending in the Golden Knights' direction, where I think that was clearly their Achilles heel, that might be bad news for Utah.
Okay, he had 2 face saves, so there's an expression in soccer, he knew nothing about it. You make the right play, but you're lucky you made the right play. He knew nothing about it. I think when you're making face saves, you knew nothing about it. Did he catch some breaks there, or he really is getting dialed in, and that's the way it goes when you're red hot, so that's part of the deal.
You got to put your face in the right spot to get hit. I mean, that's the key, right? So,
okay,
sure. I mean, listen,
I've done that in fights many times.
Yeah, there's an incredible amount of luck to be a good goaltender in this league and to have a winning performance in this league. But there is something to be said. I mean, on the I believe it was the game tying goal last night, there was a whole debate on television about whether Vejmelka slid too far in trying to stop the one timer from Eichel and this whole thing. And so, it is, as they say, a game of inches, and sometimes a little mistake here or there from a goalie can add up to being a big problem for your team. Again, it's not to say that Carroll's played poorly. I mean, obviously, Vejmelka's, I think, one of the big reasons why they're in the position that they're in right now in this series. But I thought the last 2 games could have been a little bit better, and obviously the results sort of dictate that.
Statistics stink on the power play for the Mammoth, and obviously that came back to bite them in a game 5 big time. What can they do, what do you think, to be able to be better in that situation, those situations?
Yeah, I mean, power plays are a tricky thing in the postseason. You get into a bit of a rut, and then things kind of snowball a little bit. I mean, they are going up against a Vegas Golden Knights team that was tied for 6th in the NHL in penalty kill during the regular season. So it's not as if they're playing a team that doesn't know how to kill a penalty, and they certainly have some veteran guys that have done this before in the playoffs. But I think overall you don't want to be overly reliant on your power play anyway in the playoffs. I think the playoffs are won at 5-on-5. But clearly, at this point, we could say that you'd like to have them get a little bit more out of it. Still clicking, pretty well on the penalty kill, but to have a power play that's only clicking at 7% in the playoffs is pretty embarrassing at this point.
They've been giving up late goals, big goals, momentum-changing goals right before they go into the locker room, before the intermission. And when they try to find a common thread, it seems like they're giving away the puck in some really bad places on the ice. Vejmelka on the third goal, on the boards behind the goal, he seemed really indecisive. Where was he going with that? Sergachev had a pass back he once earlier in the series. When you look at the issues they're having defensively, because the games they've won, they give up 2 goals. When they give up 4 goals or more, they're 0-3 in this series. And if they're going to give up fewer goals, it seems it comes down to the decisions they make when they have the puck are leading directly to goals.
Yeah, and also the Golden Knights are a team that's pretty adept at forcing the issue when it comes to turnovers. I mean, I think when you look at Mark Stone, Jack Eichel, and Mitch Marner, to name 3 guys, these are some of the best two-way players in the league at forward position, 200-foot players, as they say. So they're a team that preys on those mistakes, and that's why you can't make them. But, it kind of goes back to the beginning of our conversation. I mean, if there's one common theme in the first round of these Stanley Cup playoffs, it's inexperienced teams trying to figure out how to close out their opponents. And part of that is knowing how to manage the puck. Part of that is not making the wrong decision. Part of that is not squeezing your stick at the wrong time. And we've seen Philly, allow the Penguins to come back in the series before they closed it out. We've seen Buffalo struggle to close out Boston. We've seen the Ducks blow an opportunity to close out Connor McDavid and the Oilers. Like on and on and on, these young teams that don't have the playoff experience quite yet are finding out what it takes to win these games. And ultimately, like you said, whether it's this playoff or future playoffs, this is going to be all beneficial to the Mammoth and their young stars. But hopefully in the short term, what's happened in the last couple of games can kind of set them on the right course to still win this series.
Yeah, so we'll, as you brought up with the Philly situation, we'll monitor that and sort of look to them. We did it with these situations, small market teams in the NBA, a little bit different, but, we follow them and how they've built Oklahoma City, and the Jazz are trying to do that. And so you bringing up Philly, I think, is an idea for us and our fan base and our listener audience to see what they can do and see if that can be replicated here locally. And then I saw you sort of did a big picture thing on Pittsburgh. And I looked at it, and then I went on to X, I guess they call it now, Twitter, and I wanted to get your comment on this. You probably saw this. Penguins Jesus. Greg, I don't say this enough. Penguin fans don't really like you. Never have, never will. We have all of the receipts.
Penguins fans, it's a first of all, it was a joy to cover the Battle of Pennsylvania because, like, you talk about, some great playoff atmospheres. Obviously, we've seen them at Delta Center. We saw them in Buffalo. That Game 3 between the Flyers and the Penguins, where they're chanting derogatory chants in Philadelphia about Sidney Crosby an hour before the puck drops. Is just like, that's playoff hockey right there. That's a beautiful thing. But, in covering the Penguins, I mean, the overriding theme last night after the game was like, what's next? I mean, they clearly outkicked their coverage in making the playoffs this season. I don't think a lot of people had the Penguins making the playoffs. Hell, I talked to Sidney Crosby before the season, and he wasn't even sure they'd make the playoffs. But, now you've got Crosby there through next season. You've got Letang there for the next couple of seasons. And you've got Evgeny Malkin, who's an unrestricted free agent this summer. And, this trio, the names I just mentioned, have the North American pro sports record for the most games played together, most seasons rather played together as a trio. And you wonder whether or not maybe there's a chance that last night was the last time we'll see them as a trio. It's possible.
Right.
Bill Armstrong gets a lot of credit, and I think justifiably so, but I want your opinion on this. On the personnel moves he's made, it seems like there's a long string of wins. But our experience is that nobody bats 1,000. So first off, do you buy the premise? And then second off, What do you think of the Peterka Dome? Is that going to be something where maybe both teams think they win? Was that one that maybe as many good calls as he's made, he wants one back? What do you think?
I think that's a tough trade to analyze because I truly don't think that Peterka has been put in a position to excel on the Mammoth, if I'm being honest with you. Like, you look at the reductions in his ice time at 5-on-5. You look at what he was playing on the power play last year for Buffalo versus his power play time during the regular season for Utah. There's something going on there with the coach and Peterka that I think has kind of dulled the impact that he could have, because I think he's a really good player. I don't know if it's a situation where, Andre's got his guys that he likes and he feels that Peterka was kind of foisted upon him because of this trade. I don't know what the situation is, but there's clearly some kind of malfunction in JJ's integration into this lineup. And so it's hard to really assess the deal. I know that there's definitely probably some people that are like, shoot, man, look what Josh Stone's doing with Buffalo. We can have that one back. But I'm really curious as to how this situation can maybe be rectified or how it plays out, because his first season in Utah was definitely a disappointment, not only from a statistical standpoint, and not only what he's not done in the playoffs, but in general, like what his role ended up being on the team.
You buy the premise about the rest of it, though, about Bill's putting together quite the record here? You buying that?
Insofar as like what he's built on this roster
with the draft picks.
Yeah, with the draft picks and the Sergachev acquisition, and the moves he's made as he builds this up from nowhere.
I think he's done real well. I mean, and there's obviously still room to improve. And that they can take a look at how far they advance in these playoffs and get a better sense of what needs to be here. But in a salary capped league, the best way to try to build out your roster is from within. You don't want to be a team that has to be overly reliant on the trade deadline year after year to bring in guys that play certain roles. Like, if you can find the cheap labor of young players and prospects to come up through your system and fill out your lineup, then you're doing it the right way. They all can't be the Florida Panthers who just were in like supermarket sweep and got all these guys from all over the place and ended up winning a couple cups. More likely you're going to be like the old Lightning teams that had a bunch of homegrown guys filling out your lineup. So I like the moves that Bill has made for the most part, but I really like the fact that he's kept his powder dry insofar as how many young players are still in the pipeline at almost every level, whether it's the NCAA or Canadian Junior or wherever. It seems like the Mammoth have prospects that are thriving.
You wonder, it becomes tricky, because they got rid of Doan in the trade, and we'll see how that plays out. I don't think you can judge it one single year, but certainly Josh's better days are ahead of him, and we'll see what happens coming back next year with the guy they got back. And how do you know when to go for it all or keep holding on to these things? I think that's tricky to be, no matter what position, a general manager, whatever their title is in whatever sport, to know what to do. And I think that's going to me, that's a fascinating story that could determine the level of success for this franchise. I think they're going to have success, but to what degree depends on what they do. How do you respond to that?
That is an amazingly good point. And I always think about one team in particular when that subject comes up, and that's the Los Angeles Kings. They won 2 Stanley Cups in the last decade. And that happened because they reached that inflection point of, we're really good. We have some really, really good young players, but we don't feel like we've got the guys that have the experience or maybe just the overall game to get us over the hump. So they end up trading a couple guys in Wayne Simmons and Braden Shen, 2 guys that have had incredible NHL careers since then, for Jeff Carter and Mike Richards from the Philadelphia Flyers. 2 really good players, but also 2 guys that have that sort of edge to them, that play that nasty bit of playoff hockey that you need. And so there was a boldness in that move, but ultimately the boldness resulted in them being able to win a couple of Stanley Cups. So you're absolutely right. Like, there will come a point where Bill will have to look at this roster and ownership will have to look at this roster and say, what is the piece that we're missing? What is the thing that gets us over the hump? Is it a guy that's won before? Is it a guy that just plays with a little bit of nastiness that we don't have? And they're going to have to figure out what pieces they want to deal for that player.
Was that an amazingly good point, or was that just one Jersey guy trying to make another Jersey guy look good? What?
No, man. Because again, like it comes to the problem with a lot of GMs in this league, and I don't know if it's hockey specific or not, but they fall in love with their guys too much. Yeah. And there's
that's an old story in sports. That's an old story in sports.
For sure. And like there's a term that we use in writing all the time when you've, and by you've I mean Neve, written like 5,000 words and you love them all, but you have to eventually kill your darlings, they say. And like, you got to get rid of some of those words because no one wants to read a 5,000 word story. So in hockey, it's the same way. It's like, you've got all these prospects, you've got all these picks. At some point, you're going to have to let some of them go to really improve your team. And then, why these guys get paid the big bucks is, did they trade the right prospects and did they acquire the right player to get a team like Utah over the hump?
Well, I spent 23 years in newspapers, so I understand what you're saying. And the good thing now is we don't have to worry about the jump as much because it's all online. And so that could lead to maybe the eyeballs carrying a little longer in the story. So we'll see what happens there. But before,
but now you got to worry about somebody who you really want to stare at your phone for 5,000.
Oh yeah,
words.
there you go. Yeah, that's a phone versus a computer. That's another story. Yeah,
I would advise 3 1,700-word stories, and you link them, and then you get to tell your editor, "Yeah, I got one. I got another one for you tomorrow. I got one. It'll be posted tonight." And you just keep cranking them out.
I regret to inform you that my job is now taking the 5,000-word story and making a 90-second video about it. So
that's a true story right there.
I'll hit you up with one more Jersey question. You got 4 or 5 days off, right? And it's in July. You going to Ocean City, Maryland, or Ocean City, New Jersey?
Well, the first answer is I'm going to Mammoth Park Racetrack, where I was raised as a kid, basically, and where I had my first cigar. And
I've been there a time or two.
Yeah, man, it's a horse race track where they haven't had to put in slot machines, and like if you've got that, then you've got something beautiful. But yeah, I'm a Jersey Shore guy. I think Ocean City, New Jersey is beautiful. Nice. I mean, I grew up right near the Highlands, right near Point Pleasant. I mean, yeah. I was a Jersey Shore kid, so that's my experience. And I will say this to bring it to Jersey one more time. I covered the new New Jersey Devils general manager Sonny Mehta, his press conference, and he referred to it as Taylor ham and not pork roll. And it warmed my heart.
Well, that's North Jersey right there, man.
I know, that is New Jersey. That is the Great War in New Jersey. Is this really strange meat product. The Civil War in New Jersey is whether you call it pork roll or Taylor ham. I'm a Taylor ham kid.
Well, it depends on where you're from.
I got some. Yeah, it's all about where you're from, exactly. So I was heartened that me and the New Jersey Devils general manager on the same page.
It's funny you say that. My wife asked me last night, "Do you want an English muffin for breakfast when I get home today?" And I said, "Only if I have tailored ham on it." No.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, it's a bizarre little meat product, but it's very Jersey. It's. He said something in his press conference that also really stuck with me, which is that, like, when you're from New Jersey, and you'll understand this, you don't refer to yourself as black or white or rich or poor or young or old. You're just from Jersey. Like, that's your identification in life, and I think you probably understand what I'm saying there.
I've never let it go, even though I'm living here in Utah, of all places.
Well, he's going to remember this interview for all the Jersey talk. I'm going to remember this interview because I'd never heard anyone say we've written, or I should say me've written.
I thought I was listening to Karl Malone there for a second.
The contraction of me have. That is a brilliant move by you, Greg, and I will not forget it.
Yeah, the 5,000th word in that story was me've. So that's it. That's what got me over the hump.
English teachers everywhere are just getting a shiver down their spine now, and they don't know why. But it's because that was just thrown out into the universe. Greg, we appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on and talking hockey with us, and thanks for staying up till 2 a.m. to track the Mammoth.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thanks for having me, boys.
All right. Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer for ESPN. DJ and PK, Chris Level, Texas Tech analyst and sideline reporter, host of Locked On Texas Tech, is going to join us at the top of the 9 o'clock hour to talk Big 12 football and what are the Red Raiders going to do. What is the most likely scenario for them headed forward? Heavy favorites to win the league, but now it looks like they might be missing that quarterback they just spent a lot of money on. So we'll talk with Chris coming up at about half an hour right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCote.
Joining us now, he is the owner of the Utah Jazz and the Utah Mammoth. Ryan, we can't thank you enough for hopping on with us.
My goal is to bring a championship to Utah, and we haven't had one. I want to hang a banner, and if it means that we have to do stuff a little harder, okay. But we're not going to tiptoe in to go beat San Antonio and OKC. Like, we're not going to tiptoe in. Like, we're going to have to do it the right way and build the right way. That's going to be what it's going to take, and you never know. But I just try to put the smartest people around, and I just feel like we're super lucky that we got this group. I'll just be honest, if they agree on things, I'm probably not going to stand in the way on anything that they come to, and that's typically how you want it. We've got really, really smart people here who also have that level of expectation, but all this is talk. We got to go do it.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Join Scotty G and the coach tomorrow from 10 to 2. Next Gen Motors grand opening at their new location, 590 North State Street in Linden. PK, I know how much you love to talk about games and how much you love to talk about money, but do we need to talk about money right now instead of games, given the news out of the Big 12?
Yeah, money.
Money, 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 money. Sing it.
Makes the world go round, man. It's a big, big deal. Bigger than
really
ever in college sports.
I think that there's one scenario we did not talk about earlier this morning.
Go ahead.
So the Big 12 has a deal with Redbird Capital.
Yeah.
And schools can opt in and get a credit line for $30 million each. Should they do it? Now, they did not sell, nor are they looking to buy part of schools' athletic departments or a conference. That was put out there, and all the people who've worked for private equity, raise your hand. I'm raising my hand right now. And did that scare you? Yes, raise your hand. Yes, absolutely. But that is not what they did. They didn't sell part of athletic departments or part of the conference. It's a credit line, as Yock said. Just imagine a credit card for $30 million. The interest is apparently down.
You've seen my wife. I don't need to imagine it.
Hey-o, a little under 10%. Which is still a pretty big number. So where we came down earlier, PK, for me, especially if you're doing some kind of big project, you're rebuilding a stadium, arena, something that ought to generate more money down the line, I get it. I can see the advantage there. Now, if you're using it on NIL, I guess it could work. You could buy a couple players that really spin your program around, but that scares me. That seems like you're spending a lot of money and thinking that's going to pay off in the long run. Sure, it might, but to me it seems unlikely. And your big point was don't think this is immediately going to change your place in the food chain and put yourself right up at the top with these schools that are $150 to $250 million athletic departments, and they are just flying. Don't think that you can suddenly trump 50, 75, 100 years of their accomplishments. The Notre Dames and Ohio States and Michigans and USCs, when they get it right and they're on their A game, you probably can't beat them. Now, they're not always on their A game, and you can beat them when they're on their C game or their B game, as Utah showed in the Pac-12 against USC, as we've seen both BYU and Utah have good records against Oklahoma, Texas, Michigan, whatever the school. You can look them up. Over time, they got pretty good records. Well, they played them when they weren't on their A game.
Right.
What about if they spend this money on coaches, PK? Because coaches come and go, but a really good coach can flip a program. You always go back to the Lute Olson quote, get your tickets now because you're not going to be able to pretty quickly. And he changed the trajectory of Arizona basketball. So if teams use money on that, it's not as long-term an investment as building a new stadium or arena that can generate the money. It's probably a better investment than spending on a player who might only be there a year or two, but there is that risk with coaches. They do hop around. We can look at what's happening at Utah State basketball. What do you think?
I think that that's a possibility that you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis, right? And I don't know that necessarily it's either you take the whole $30 million or you get nothing.
My guess is no, but I haven't read it, so I don't know. But my guess is no.
Right. So who you have, and like a Morgan Scally, and a Kalani Sitake for that matter. We just take two local kids who now we have. I say kids because I'm going back to when they were kids.
We knew them when they were kids.
And they played there. They were kids when they were playing there, right? You had two guys that if you would have told them at 12 years old, I'm going to give you a scholarship and you're going to play at BYU, they would have said, absolutely, I've reached the pinnacle. This is where I want to be. I don't want to be anyplace else, right? We know that. Morgan has talked about that. Kalani has talked about that. And so suppose it came down, and this is an example that just happened in December. Penn State was there. It was a great opportunity, and all three of us were sitting right there in the football facility on the football level there in the student athlete building and all that, where he said, I'm a competitor. What he was saying is, if they didn't increase the offer, I'm a BYU guy, but I'm a competitor. And if they didn't increase the offer to where I thought it was acceptable, the way I read into it, there was a good chance that I was gone. And Jay Hill would have been the head coach. And who knows what would have happened from there. But the money came up to where it was acceptable, and he decided to stay. So there could be those situations here. And Morgan Scally, if Morgan Scally goes 35-5 in the next 4 or 5 years, he's going to get offers. And people are going to come calling. It doesn't matter who you are. The fact that you're an alumnus and all that stuff. And so you may have to up the offer. And who knows in 5 years what the numbers are going to be? Is it going to be $15 million a year? I mean, who knows? And so you may be able to tap into that. And it could be a long-term investment in terms of, okay, now he's going to stay for the next, depending on how old he is. In the case of Scally, he's in mid-40s, I think 46 years old. It could be for the next 15 years. He could coach until he's 65 if he gets that type of offer in 5 years. You can go down to Tempe. I mean, his name, Dillingham, has been floated around like 25 different times since he had the big season, right? And he took the literally the 3 worst years in the program, and in 2 years, he had him in the playoff. And it's remarkable. And he just turned 36 2 days ago. And so he's certainly going to get offers. And if they can use that, sure. If that might be the wisest investment you could possibly make in your program, depending on how the situation is, right? I think if you got a local guy, and those are 3 examples, and they're all local guys. He didn't play college football. He didn't play anywhere. He didn't even play high school football. He got hurt. But he spoke about how his sister lives literally right across the fence. His parents live 5 doors down, blah, blah, blah. So the ties can't run any deeper. And we saw that with Whittingham. The ties were really, really deep into Utah. He didn't decide to leave Utah. They decided for him, and then he left. And away he's gone. And he's doing his thing in Michigan. And I've been exchanging texts with him almost on a daily basis here. And so, that's who he is now. But he had opportunities. We know he had opportunities. I know it. Everybody knows it. But the hometown and what it meant to him and his family prevailed, and you may need that. So I think that's an excellent point. I wouldn't just say no, well, we're not going to do that because that's not what we do. Because who knows what's down the line in 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years.
Nobody does. And to your point, Utah State's athletic director was just talking about how he sees proposals for what is going to be, happening in the 2030s. And he says it's like every day there's another proposal. And some of them, his point was that some of them, it's really, they're going to tweak it. It's going to be a very select group of teams, and they're going to do their own thing. And then other times, it's a much larger group of teams, and it isn't a complete breakaway. It's basically everything's on the table. Right? And then not only his school, but his conference are going to have to react to that. Presumably, they're going to be on the outside of at least part of it from a football perspective, but there's all kinds of thoughts about what might happen with the NCAA tournament. And
football or basketball?
You can go on YouTube and
football or basketball?
Scotty G with the NCAA basketball tournament. And it's in the middle of the interview. Cameron Walker did an interview with Scotty G and I for an Aggie podcast for about 30 minutes, and it's in the middle of it. And he was talking about really anything could happen. He he literally sees the proposals, and it's all over the board right now. And then the commissioner, and you got to say this about Yormark, even if he, annoys you with the way he talks and preens sometimes, he keeps pushing basketball. And I just read a story that said the basketball tournament is holding together and that there are now multiple people in key positions who think it's undervalued, that it is going to be worth so much money when that deal comes up. And that could really shape whether there's a breakaway, what it looks like, because people are eyeing that basketball tournament thinking, it's worth something now and we like it, but it could really be worth something on the open market because these sports properties are going for top dollar and that thing is still producing.
Yeah, that sounds good, but I think you're pushing.
Not buying it?
No, not completely because what's his name, Walker, he's going to push that because they got no chance to win in a college football playoff, but they got a chance to win a game or two.
But he didn't push the basketball tournament. That I read separately.
Okay, well, Yormark is doing it because
Yormark is, because
that's where he has a chance to make his splash. Ask him, would you rather push the football or the basketball? He would I guarantee he'd say football, but he's got to push the basketball. He thinks he's got a clever line. We're the second best basketball in the world, second best basketball league. What he'd really like to say is we're the second best football league in the world, but he can't.
No, he can't say that. And even the basketball argument has fallen apart just over the last 3 years.
But it's a quip. Yeah. And then the reason why the other commissioners don't say it, the Big Ten and the SEC don't say it, because they got football. That's why. Or else they would say it too. So I think play your strength, and that's what he's playing. And that's what he's going at. The former athletic director at ASU, when they were sucking, well, we have a comprehensive athletic program. Nobody gives a crap. They care about football. Your football team sucks. You made a horrible hire. Well, we sponsor the most sports, 26, and my gosh, our swimming and diving team, great. Who cares? They care. Those people care who are involved. But the general public who's given money doesn't care. Because he couldn't pump football because Herm Edwards was a cheater and was way over his head. So he had to go with what he was talking about. What was his strength? Well, talk that. You don't want to talk your weakness. So, yeah, I mean, sell that. I don't want to undersell it, but it's still not the big dog.
The football is the big dog. There's no doubt about it. But if you start showing people a way to make a lot more money, they can get pretty interested in the basketball tournament.
Sure, and don't discount that. But not at the expense. Don't ever pump money into basketball at the expense of football.
Right. But the question is, do Fox and the Big Ten think, hey, if we can get a few SEC schools on board, we go to 32 teams, we just become it. We are it. We replace the NCAA with one mega conference. The other conferences can exist. We're not a monopoly, but we get all the big dogs. And I've read all this stuff. Why did they start the Crown basketball tournament? Which on the surface makes no sense because they're going to pull out of the NCAA basketball tournament. Now that, to me, that thing has been there my whole life, and it's a little hard for me to visualize that happening. But there's so many things that have happened that I couldn't visualize happening. Why not one more?
Let them do it, and it's for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's all you got. Football's where it's at, and that's where you need to put all your emphasis, not all your emphasis, but 90% of your emphasis.
Yes.
And Yormark, he wants to spin the conversation because they don't have anybody who's won a game in the playoff in football. The second, and at some point they're going to, then he'll be touting that. As my mother would say, mark my words. As she made tailored ham for me for breakfast.
I know you're right about that. When he has a football win to talk about, he won't shut up. That's their job, to sell their league, and as soon as he has a chance to sell that, he will. Period. Exclamation point, whatever you want, he will.
Yeah. And I think that can be done. I think that gap can be closed.
Really close. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good football league. Especially, it goes deep. It goes deeper than, not necessarily every year, but some of the other two big conferences, and then put the ACC in there. And they just need to keep working on it and pushing for it. I mean, there's enough players. They're getting players that the recruits that come to BYU, Utah, whomever in this league, they've got SEC and Big Ten offers. It's not like it's a bunch of Big Sky guys, and that's not it at all. I mean,
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Logos are in the news. AJ Dybantsa, Darryn Peterson. We will get to that next, and we're headed to Texas Tech. What are the Red Raiders going to do at quarterback? How is this going to impact the Big 12 race and their playoff dreams? We'll get to that at the top of the hour. Stay with us. DJ and PK brought to you in part by Tim Dolly Mazda. Join Scott G and the coach today from 10 to 2 at Tim Dolly Mazda, 10785 South Automall Drive in Sandy. Well, PK, you posted the dueling logos. Players have to have logos now. It's all about the brand. Who has the better logo, AJ Dybantsa or Darryn Peterson? Ethan Dybantsa, and it's not even close, LOL. He knows what he did right there. Way to go, Ethan. Jake says, AJ, no contest. And then Alex says, DPs is bad, both from a design aspect, lines have varying widths, a weird shape, trapezoid, and the image looks like he's sitting on a bench. AJ, less is more, way more crisp. AJ by a bleeping landslide. And plenty of people have pointed out, why in the world would you have a logo of DP sitting on the bench when that's been the criticism of him for the last year? Seems a little tone deaf there on the design.
Well, because you can see the DP easier. Now, I had to see an explanation of the AJ and how they put an AJD. I had to look at it like, what am I looking at? And then I saw somebody said, well, I'll explain it. And I saw, okay, I get the A and I can get the G, or the J, I should say, but I don't get the D. So that's why I put the picture. If you put the picture of AJ holding the basketball with his left hand and then goes together, then I get it. The DP is kind of cool. You can see the DP.
Right.
And he is sitting on a folding chair there. But and I get that. But see, if he goes to the NBA and lights it up, that storyline from the college is going to go, he was just protecting the investment. Look at him go, man. This young man, he's awesome. He's the next Kobe.
If he does it, that'll be the storyline. Right. He looks deep. He looks like he's deep in thought.
The thinking man.
Yes.
if they moved he only shows like his right arm. If they moved it like with the left and put it under his chin,
it'd be famous art. Well, throw that out there. There's still time to change it.
You'd probably be getting sued for copyright infringement at that point.
Yeah, but isn't there some rule like after 75 or 100 years it goes into the public domain?
Sure, but
you wouldn't
and that
do
thing
that
is
anyway.
Like, what is that? 400 years old or something?
But I like the DP is clearly recognizable.
It is
you would
clearly
see that, right?
Honestly, I still don't. I'm going to need someone. Art and art history, not my thing. I've got college grades to prove.
And I love my art. Everybody knows that.
Do, so
you get me in an art museum, I'll see you 4 hours from now.
You'll have to explain it to me because I don't see all of that.
I saw the explanation. You can go look. It was on social media.
Okay. I'll go find it. I'll try to figure that out.
Yeah. And then when you need like a table of contents or something, and when you have that, and you think, oh, okay, yeah, all right. But it does need explanation. But that's why his picture's got to be attached to it, because to me, when I looked at it, that's a black and white logo of the Houston Astros?
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody did make a Chrysler joke in there. It does look like the Chrysler logo.
Okay, I'm not a car guy, but sure, I can see that. Chrysler, yeah, it's sort of. I drive a Pinto, so I don't know anything about that.
Old car company.
Yeah, that's.
I do remember seeing it watching games though, because they advertised in a million games.
When I traded in my Vega, I got a Pinto, so that's what I'm rolling with. But I think to me it's a little confusing. If you want to mock the Peterson sitting on the bench, which he could have had 10 games of 50 points. But, man, he sat on the bench.
If he had 10 games of 50 points, we'd be talking about that, but he didn't.
Well, he could have, and it still would have been he only played 12 games.
When he was in and he was rolling, he looked awesome. If you can get that player, you're loving it.
Well, I'm not going to assign somebody a lifelong career based on when they're 18, 19 years old. And
GMs are going to have to make decisions based on it.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be able to talk that through and meet with the guy and find out what's his story. I mean, you're not drafting him exclusively because of his talent. You're drafting him based on the interactions that you've had with him and who are his people, who are folks that are close to him, who's influencing him. We've talked about how Dennis Lindsey did that. You have to do that, man. You have to go as far as you needed to go.
Yep.
That's why back in the day when I was a beat writer and the Utes were good, I literally have general managers would call me. They'd call me at my house. Nobody had cell phones then. And they would call me, what do you know about this kid? And we know the kids. And they'd ask me, they never asked me, what do I think of his hesitation dribble? I mean, they don't need to ask me that. I could answer that because I covered him, and I think I know a fair amount of
No, but you can answer how a kid carries himself in an interview,
what do his
how he carries
teammates
himself
think of
in
him?
an airport, in an airplane, that kind of human interaction, how he treats people.
Right.
Does he look you in the eye?
Right.
Can you coach him hard?
Yeah.
The first time somebody raises his voice, does he duck his head and go away for a week?
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
I would get that after the season, and then you'd get it during the season in the media room before the games. Yeah. And I got to know some of those guys because Jerry Colangelo's son, Brian, used to be on the scouting beat. Remember a guy named John Shoemate? Yeah. I can remember Dick Van Arsdale of the Suns.
Now you're talking.
Yeah. These guys, they find out who you are. And I assume beat writers still have a level of stature. Certainly we did in the heyday of newspapers. And so they'd want to know, what do you know about the kid?
They want to know anybody who interacts with them in daily life. There's stories about basketball coaches who know the receptionist at every school because it's somebody who interacts with the kid.
Yes.
What's the kid's attitude when he walks in? Your wife's a PE teacher. Okay, what's the kid's attitude?
Because she got hit up on that constantly.
The field, whatever. Yeah. Anybody who interacts with them, they want to know.
She was down there at Corner Canyon the other day. She had to go down there, and they got this beautiful field house, and she knows the coach, Casey Sutera, who was at Brighton and went back to Corner. She's known him for years. We've known the family. She worked with them, and he took her through the field house, and they have an area that is up top, and it's called VIP area. And as I understand it, what I was told, not by him, but by somebody else, that's for the college scouts when they come through.
Nice. Wow. All right, DJ and PK, we got to take a break. When we come back, Texas Tech football. Easily tabbed as the favorite. They were clearly going to be the favorite going into the season. But Sorsby, is he available? Is he out? Is he all done? What's happening to quarterback? Where do the Red Raiders go from here? Chris Level, sideline reporter and host of Locked On Texas Tech, joins us next. Stay with us.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
DJ and PK, we are joined now by Chris Level. And Chris has had a very busy 48 hours. He's a Texas Tech analyst, sideline reporter, and host of Locked On Texas Tech. Chris, is your head spinning after the last few days?
Well, I think you know what is it when you ask a question you already know the answer to. But yeah, definitely a lot going on here in West Texas for sure. But really in the NCAA, I mean, it's a big story. And I guess it doesn't just involve Texas Tech or Brendan Sorsby. I mean, don't know about the whole Indiana and Cincinnati angles, and this is just a lot going on here for sure.
Yeah, did I hear something or read something that Cody Campbell wants to go after Cincinnati too?
That's somebody having fun at Cody's expense, making poking fun at I think Cody, that suggesting that he was paying people to go after Cincinnati, but that's not true.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was. I thought it was just a joke, and it's just how crazy this story has mushroomed. And certainly for a day or two, it was like a lead national story. And, you wonder, and it's a sad story for Brendan, and hopefully he can get that under control. Immediately old-timers will start thinking of maybe an Art Schlichter situation that never panned out because of this, and this is serious, so it's something that needs to be taken seriously. As far as you wonder what level of not necessarily widespread, but if he's doing it, it's probably not the only one who's doing it. And does the college game in general need to take a look at this, and even at the pro game, and how much they've gotten in bed with the gambling entities?
Yeah, because I mean, I know I've said this on some of the platforms I've been on. That Texas Tech has participated in football and basketball in this last calendar year at some of the Big 12 schools with the arenas or stadiums that are the naming rights are hotel and casinos. Right. It's just this is the norm. This is Brendan clearly had an issue. I think he's seeking treatment for that. He's probably going to be the loser here in the whole thing, because it's really, it's going to hamper his stock as it relates to the NFL. I think a lot of what is going to come out or has come out, is something that the NFL folks would have eventually found out. But there's a bigger picture for him at stake. I mean, Texas Tech will be fine. I mean, they may not have as good of a team or offense this year, depending on what the status is going to be here. Because at the very minimum, he's going to miss time, and he may be done. We all understand that, but he's the one that and then with whatever Texas Tech was going to pay him, they may not have to pay any of that. We just don't know. But then it's the bigger picture of, he was a potential first-round draft pick, and now maybe not, just because of some of this off-the-field activity and like what's going on there, and why were you doing this? What else is there that we need to look into from a mental health standpoint? I mean, all the things, right? Because these are major investments for NFL franchises, and this was a major investment for Texas Tech. So, but yeah, hopefully we get more answers in the coming days. But the timing of this is very bizarre. We're talking about stuff that supposedly happened at Indiana 3 or 4 years ago. If the timing is right, he would have been underage. That leads to questions. I think that there is plenty of questions about how the NCAA, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not pretending to be, but how they acquired this data. Did they do this on the up and up? Did they do that? I mean, like there's plenty that I've been trying to figure out, okay, what is Texas Tech or what is Brendan Sorsby going to argue here? You're admitting to the wrongdoing. This is you broke a rule, but how did we get here? And who knew what, and when did they know it? And why is there no ramifications for those folks? I mean, so there's just a lot going on here, and I just don't know if we have all the full picture of it just yet.
From the football perspective, do you think you're actually going to see him playing quarterback there? Is everyone preparing like, well, it'll be Hammond when his knee is healthy, or the fact that Hammond's still got to rehab the knee? Is everybody talking Kirk Francis? Which of these paths is the most likely going forward, or is it just going to be a jumbled week-by-week thing?
Yeah, I think you'll get, but before fall camp starts, I think you'll have resolution on what the status here is. I mean, I think Texas Tech has secured some of the best counsel that you can get. Jeffrey Kessler, Scott Thomasette, who defended Bill Self when he was, getting raked over the coals about the FBI and the Adidas stuff and all the things. So they're prepared to go the legal route. Again, I just don't know what they are arguing or what will argue, but I don't have all the info. None of us do. And but is Brendan Sorsby, is he wanting to go that route? Is he? Because part of me, understands that I'm sure most of these entities don't really want to have, because it's costly. Most don't want to go this route because everybody gets to, it's show and tell. Everybody gets to find out who knew what and all the things, and that goes for all parties. But Brendan and his camp may go, we just don't want to go through this. Let's just go to the supplemental draft in the NFL. I don't know. So the reality is, on the question that you asked, is that you have to be prepared that he won't play it down for you. But, only they kind of have a better feel for, is there a path to reinstatement? I mean, we're not even there yet. Like, he hasn't technically been declared ineligible. So you ask about Will Hammond. I think that's a late September, early October at the earliest. And so it comes back to Kirk Francis and a young man by the name of Chubb Jones, Lloyd Jones. They call him Chubb, but that was his nickname. That they both went through spring, and those were that was the backup and the third string guy and all that stuff going through spring. And they are built to play really good defense again, and they're built to run the ball. I mean, they've got the best running back tandem coming back from the Big 12, and they've got who would have been the starter last year in Quentin Joyner, who was one of the crown jewels of their portal class a year ago. They got hurt last August, transfer from USC. So they'll have three really good running backs, and they upgraded their offensive line and the whole thing. So, but it's a lot to process, guys. I just don't know. Does this alter the Big 12 race? Does it not? I don't know, but it's just not a good week in Lubbock, that's for sure.
This is a completely hypothetical, so, if you don't want to really give it any credence, I can understand. But we saw Hammond come in here in Rice-Eccles and look really good. I was covering that game, and obviously we were all impressed with him in the second half. And just go on the theory that he did not get that knee injury that is going to set him back, and he played, and Morton came back, and so Hammond would have been healthy going into this season. Do you think they still would have recruited Sorsby or a quarterback like him?
No, they would not have. Will Hammond would have been the quarterback. This is a program that I think feels fairly strongly about that particular position and being homegrown, and going to get, Will Hammond's still going to be the starter here, I think, multiple years. Okay, he's a redshirt sophomore this year, so he's going to have a couple of years after this one. But they would not have gone this route at all. No, had he not, they would have handed him the keys and said, let's go do it. They've got another big-time kid committed right now that is set to sign this December, but this is just what they would have believed. Like you got programs like Miami that they just appear that they're just going to go to the portal every year. It's the way they wanted to do things, but like Texas Tech does not, and this is what it leads me to another answer, because people have said, would they go bring in somebody else? Would they go the D2 route? Is there anybody out there that they could go get? Can they get, I don't know, the junior college guy, whatever. I just don't know if they're wanting to trust anybody. This is that they have a firm belief on why they wanted to have homegrown quarterbacks, and, that position just comes with some leadership and some responsibility and the whole thing. And I just don't know now if you're wanting to bring another outsider in that you just don't really know. And they felt like they knew Brendan. Nobody knew this. But he clearly had done this activity and knew that he had probably broken rules until, prior to him coming here. So, but by all accounts, he was a great guy and everybody loved him, and he was as advertised, the whole thing. So but Hammond would have been the starter had he not gotten hurt. There's no doubt.
Stories have a way of blowing up, and in the moment they're the biggest thing. But it does seem like with the investment in Texas Tech, there are much bigger plans. And certainly win in the playoffs. That seems to be, if the short term is the quarterback situation, winning playoff games seems to be like a medium-term goal. But is the long-term goal to get Texas Tech in whatever the Power 2, the top shelf of college football looks like, and whatever this next reorganization is coming? And
yes.
And how realistic does that seem to you right now, if that is the goal?
Yeah, that was part of the big picture plan here when the rules changed. I think that, Texas Tech has been through this realignment mess multiple times over the last 15, 20 years. It didn't look good, say, 4 to 5 years ago. I mean, it was a bit tenuous. There was a heavy, heavy investment made on facilities. They've spent somewhere around $300 to $400 million on facilities alone, leading up to the portal era and the NIL era and all these things. And then they made a conscious decision to say, because we want them to do well, one, but two, this is a big picture plan. It's all about football. And at some point, basketball factors in because it's a moneymaker. But that's the front porch of your university. And there is going to be another shakeup, guys. I mean, that's all there is to it. I just don't know. We don't know what that looks like. But when these media rights deals start coming up, there's going to be some sort of movement. There always is. Is it a have and a have not? Are there super leagues? Are there? I don't know if we know if there's more realignment coming. Something will happen. It's just constant. And their goal here is to grow enrollment to 50,000. Right now they're at about 41, but they're going to welcome in their largest, freshman class this next fall. I think a lot of that has to do with the football season you had, and there's a direct correlation there. That's just the way it goes. It's the Doug Flutie effect from way back in the day when, Boston College upset Miami, and then all of a sudden the enrollment at Boston College goes up, and that's the way it is for these schools. That you start to see the brand, and it looks like a fun place to be, and all the things, and then you get more people attracted to it. So that's absolutely. I think you nailed it.
I'm wondering what the plan is for the rest of the sports. Basketball, they were pretty good, but obviously they had a big-time injury that got in the way of them achieving what they wanted to do with Top. And then you look at their softball, they're 48-4. And they got to the NCAA final last year, and I understand, that pitcher, Candidate, is back, and they added another pitcher who's dominant. But you look at their baseball, and they're 22-22, right? So they're kind of middling. What is the perspective from the likes of Cody Campbell regarding the other sports, not just football?
Well, so Cody's partner, John Sellers, in their oil and gas investments in their companies, is named John Sellers, and his wife played softball here. Well, John has a significant interest in the softball program, so guess what? But there is no really NIL help for baseball here. There's no really rev share. I mean, Tech baseball is still dealing with, this particular year, only 11.7 scholarships, whereas they're going against some Big 12 teams that into the 25, 30, whatever they allowed it to be.
Yeah.
Texas Tech is transitioning into that next year, but there is no NIL, and it shows. I mean, it shows that they have chosen consciously to fund as much as they can football and men's hoops. That's really where it's at. The softball thing is an outlier. And it's going to stay that way simply because of John's interest and his wife's interest, and they will continue to seek outside NIL and the whole thing. So I think as long as John and his wife have an interest in that softball issue, it's going to be a very competitive program. And they went to the very final game of the College World Series last year, and could be in line to have a deep run again this year.
Is everything else with Texas Tech football on path, on track? The quarterback issue's obviously just getting all the attention right now, but has everything else been done to put the program in the best possible place to win in the playoff next year? I mean, that's hard to say given what's going on at quarterback, but you still got to have everything on track and then hope this works out.
Yeah, I think the biggest question I think they're going to be just fine in the Big 12. I'll let you guys decide if they're still the favorite or if they're going to be a contender or whatever. But I think they're going to be able to manage their way through the league and be in a position to be in the Big 12. We don't know we don't know the quarterback situation. But they're built. There's really not any other questions on their team. Now there is one at quarterback, but they're built to run it. Their defense, it'll look a little bit different. They won't have the dynamic pass rusher like David Bailey was, but they brought in 6 to 7 D linemen from the portal that are. I saw 2 of them mocked as first-round picks recently for next year. One of their starting cornerbacks was also a potential first-round draft pick, and Bryce Pollock. I think the USA Today has him as a first-round draft pick. So they are, they're in good shape, I should say. Everywhere else, it's just now, what does it look like? And maybe this is more of a grind. Maybe this is more of a let's just hand it off 40 times a game, and they're built to do that if that's what they want to do, and then let your defense, keep you in it. So. At some point, somebody will stack the box, and you're going to have to do some things at quarterback. We just don't know. Again, it's so early. We just don't know what that looks like. I mean, is Sorsby done? When does Hammond come back? All the things. It's just that's a bit of an unknown right now. But they're really not any other questions anywhere else on their roster. I mean, I could go deeper with you and they got a little inexperience at one of the safety spots. I don't know who their third defensive end is going to ultimately be, but those are in the weeds. But other than that, they've addressed everything. They're older, they're deeper, and than they were last year in some spots. So, good question. The problem is whatever happens, even if Hammond comes back healthy, is your ceiling lower as it relates to winning the Big 12 championship or doing some damage in the CFP? That's a very fair question, and it absolutely is. I mean, Sorsby was a difference maker. That's why they went after him. But I think that there's a limit on how far you could go here.
I'm fascinated by Cody Campbell. We had him on our show, and I love the fact that he talks of trying to overhaul and save college sports, particularly women's sports and the non-revenue sports, and he thinks it's real in a precarious situation. And then at the same time, when they lose to Oregon, well, we're going to double down, and 4 days later they get Sorsby, and the day after they get Sorsby, they put the marquee up in Times Square in New York that he's playing for Texas Tech. So from my perspective, it seems a little incongruent. I'm going to dump all this money in here, but I want to save sports. I'm fascinated by it, and I know you can't really speak to him, speak about him, or speak for him, I should say. But what do you think his line of thinking is? Because he seems so sincere about wanting to save college sports and put it in a good spot. But on the other side, I'm basically going to pump as much money as necessary to get Texas Tech into the title game, basically. I thought that was one of my better questions.
It really was, PK. I was waiting for the answer. But sometimes technology gets in the way.
Maybe he didn't like the question. Did you hear the question?
I was coughing. Yeah, I was coughing. I had myself on mute.
Good. No worries. Go ahead.
Yeah. I talk to Cody all the time. I mean, I think that the rules are the rules, and as long as that what you're allowed to do, they're going to. And I told you kind of why on the football program part of it. Why they're going to. This is a bigger picture thought process. Texas Tech is not going to cut any sports. They're not going to, I think that what Cody's point is look at what Arkansas just did. Sure. They just dropped their tennis teams, and you can't tell me that Arkansas can't afford tennis. Of course they can. They just are choosing not to. And so that's what, I think and I get it. He's a controversial figure. It's because I think he's very pro Big 12. I think he's very pro football, but he's pro keeping status quo as far as all these Olympic sports too. Right. And he's got daughters that compete and stuff, and he's got a son that plays football and all the things. But I think that he would point to the Arkansas situation and see, there's more of this coming, folks, until we get this thing fixed.
Right.
And it's worth mentioning too, some of this, from a Texas Tech football standpoint, he's personally overseeing and funding. So it's not on Texas Tech. He's the one helping financially, so it's not a burden to the university. I know the capital, the deal that the Big 12 announced yesterday. That you can get the private equity funding there. It's a line of credit, and Texas Tech is not going to touch any of that. It's as they will tell you here, it's very expensive money. Like we don't want to do that route. It's not smart. Now other schools may not have a choice, but so I get where he comes off as like talking out of both sides of his mouth. I certainly get how he could be viewed as controversial. I think you guys have had him on your station, but
we have.
He's
great interview.
Yeah, and he's very measured. He's very educated in it. He deals directly with people at the NCAA. I mean, all the things. But that's from a Texas Tech standpoint. If this is the rules that everybody's going to play by, then this is what we're going to do here. But you're also not going to see this university, I don't think, cut any sports at all. Like, he will not allow that to happen because he's also the chairman of the Board of Regents here.
Well, Chris, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us and trying to lay this out, even though there's still way more questions than answers. And I think we all need to remember Trinidad Chambliss wasn't even Ole Miss's starting quarterback for the first 2 games last year, and he ended up looking awesome and taking them deep in the playoffs and won a couple games. So as much as we think we know, we never really know. That's why we love it.
That's right. Well, hey, boys, I appreciate you having me on. Make sure you take care of my man Jake there. He's good people. So we'll talk next time. Yeah, we'll talk next time and keep hope alive.
All right. Thank you, Chris. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We got to take a break. During the break, we'll be taking care of Jake because we've got our marching orders now. And when we come back, everything you missed in this show, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, obviously the Mammoth in overtime again. We'll get to all of that next. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeComb.
Joining us now, he is the owner of the Utah Jazz and the Utah Mammoth. Ryan, we can't thank you enough for hopping on with us.
My goal is to bring a championship to Utah, and we haven't had one. I want to hang a banner, and if it means that we have to do stuff a little harder, okay. But we're not going to tiptoe in to go beat San Antonio and OKC. Like, we're not going to tiptoe in. Like, we're going to have to do it the right way and build the right way. That's going to be what it's going to take, and you never know. But I just try to put the smartest people around, and I just feel like we're super lucky that we got this group. I'll just be honest, if they agree on things, I'm probably not going to stand in the way on anything that they come to, and that's typically how you want it. We've got really, really smart people here who also have that level of expectation, but all this is talk. We got to go do it.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Slugger Radio Headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. DJ and PK, well, we have so many topics. NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, obviously the Mammoth in overtime. And before we're done, PK's got to retell a funny Nick Saban story. So we got all that to look forward to. Let's start with the locals, PK. Utah Mammoth lose in overtime again. I think I've seen this game before. They had a 4-3 lead late in the third period. They couldn't close the game out. This time, you kind of get it, actually. With 2 minutes to go, Vegas pulled their goalie. They had that man advantage. They finally scored. They got it to OT with that goal with about a minute left. And they win it in double overtime. Both of these goaltenders have taken some heat. Both of these goaltenders had to stop breakaways. Veggie had to stop 2 of them. Neither of them are blameless either. They both had some mistakes, and Vejmelka gave the puck away behind the net. But even though you're not really stat guy, there's one stat that jumps out. 1 for 14 and 2 shorties. There's a problem. You can identify some of these problems pretty quickly.
Oh, I thought you were talking about my the start that I had in my senior year in baseball, 1 for 14.
Yeah, right?
Hey, it was better than the start I had in my junior year, so what the heck? I made improvement.
See, you're getting better.
Yeah, it's hard to crack on them, though, man. They're just not quite good enough. But they've made a heck of a series. It's been all sorts of entertaining, double overtime, obviously. And the other night was, I guess, just a single overtime. I just call it overtime. I don't know. To me, it's just all overtime. So, it's a play here or there. It's the old Bronco line in football. 2 or 3 plays decide the game. Yep. You can argue, Schmaltz makes that one you're speaking of that he had that little breakaway, didn't go down. Hart was able to stop it. So if they could find a way, or go in, I guess, go down would be basketball. If they could find a way to just clean it up just a little bit, get a little bit better on those power plays and not give up a couple of shorthanded goals, then maybe they're up 3-2, if not closing out the series at 4-1. That's how close it is. This is going to be, fortunately, the first time around, I don't think you can beat yourself up too much. This is not the Buffalo Bills here going to the playoffs here under Josh Allen and finding ways to lose and what if this, what if that. If they should lose this series, I don't think it'll be a big case of what if. You can play that game, but I think you need to step back a little bit. And if you want to compare it to basketball, go the Lakers, Kobe, Shaq, go the Bulls with Jordan, the Pistons, and all these teams that had to fall before they eventually got to the top. Who knows if they can get to the top, but I think that's the way you have to approach it. Knowing that there's stuff to improve upon, stuff to work upon individually, and then management decides what it needs to do to make the roster better.
Game 6, Friday night. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock scheduled start time. It'll be 8:15, 8:20, whatever.
Who cares? Friday night, I'm okay with that.
You don't have to get up Saturday morning.
I'll probably still get up, but at least I don't have to. At least it won't bug me while I'm watching the game. Can we get a goal here so I can go to bed? I won't be thinking that. I'll probably still wake up in the 6 o'clock hour knowing me. But whatever. We'll worry about that when it gets to that point. And who knows? Maybe they put it together. Maybe they just smoke them, and that gives them enough confidence to go down to Vegas. What's it, Sunday? We don't have a start time for that yet, do we?
We do not.
Yeah.
Depends on how many Game 7s there are.
Right. That should be a better starting time. I've been pulling for them hard on Friday because Game 7s in any sport, every sport, are always fun.
And at least they get this experience along the way, right?
Yeah.
They have this to draw on. Now they get to face an elimination game. If they can find a way to win that, they can feel what it's like to be in a Game 7 for the first time. So.
Yeah, we'll see. I remember we had the Vegas writer on before the series, and I think he picked in 6.
He did. And he's got to be feeling good right now.
Yeah, that prediction may come to pass.
And Vegas in 6, and it was 2-2, and Vegas is up after 5.
Yeah, right.
A game of inches. Again, can they do a little better not giving up third-period goals where they've given up 6 of them in 5 games? The 2 games where they've held Vegas to 2 goals, they've won. When they give up 4 goals or more, they get beat. And they've given up more shorthanded goals than they've scored power play, so they got to turn that around. So, obviously, a few things to work on. The cool thing watching is this. I no longer wonder when they get behind, well, are they going to have what it takes to turn this around? They've turned multiple games around. So, if they get down, oh well, they'll fight back.
Well, but you can say the same thing about Vegas.
And that's exactly where I was going next. And when they get the lead, do I think they're going to slam the door? No, I do not. I think Vegas is going to fight back.
Yeah, they need to get the lead when time is really an ally and is another defender for Vegas, but Vegas really hasn't been in that position yet. Get the lead with 2 minutes to go. So Vegas has trailed but found ways because I think they know, hey, we can do this, plus we're not up against the clock that much.
They were up against the clock last night. They pulled their goalie. They were down a goal with 2 minutes to go, and they scored with 1 minute left.
Right. I understand that, but they've got a history of the idea being we can do this.
Yes.
We've shown we can do this.
Oh, I think they'll have a ton of confidence. If they're down a goal in Game 6 Friday night, Vegas is going to think they're going to do it again. Yak had
That's what I'm saying.
Stat thing.
Yeah.
This is 5 games in a row.
I know.
They've been down in third period.
That's a coaching decision to pull the goalie. That doesn't affect the players as they're trying to get in. The point I'm making is that they play with a sense of urgency really well.
They do. And they don't always wait for the end of the game. I mean, they were down 2-1 in the second period, and there were like 5 minutes left in the period. And they're like, we want the lead going to the locker room. And they scored twice and took a 3-2 lead.
Yeah, but I don't think that, we want the lead in going into the locker room if that's going to win you anything. They want the lead. Yeah. There's no phasing these guys. I would have thought, I thought they were going to smoke Utah going up 3-0. Mm-hmm. And then not only they lose they lose the lead, they literally lose it. It just got tied, but then they get behind. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, all the momentum is for this one team and against the other, and it just didn't. The way they played just didn't seem to faze them that much.
Nope. Well, that goes back to everything that was written and said going into the series about their veterans, and they've been there, and they play like it.
Sure. Yeah.
And they made it work. All right, Game 6 tomorrow night. The other series go on. Well, the Philly-Pittsburgh series doesn't go on. The Flyers sent the Penguins home in the Battle of Pennsylvania, so that one's over, 1-0 in overtime. And then Edmonton and Anaheim play Game 6 tonight. The winner of that series plays the winner of this Utah-Vegas series, so we'll see how that goes. Edmonton down 3-2, playing in Southern California, trying to get it back home to Edmonton for a Game 7. So, NHL playoffs. The Lakers were up 3-0. They're not going to be the first team to blow a 3-0 lead and lose a series, are they?
No, that's NBA playoffs is what you meant, obviously, but I wouldn't think so.
It's 3-2 now. They shot the ball really well early in the series and jumped out in front, and we were all surprised. But the three-point numbers last night were horrific. Austin Reeves is back, but 2 of 8 from 3, and LeBron was 0 for 6 from 3, and it just didn't quite work. And Houston wins 99-93. So that series is now 3-2. It goes back to Houston with the Rockets trying to tie the series up 3-3.
Yeah, I think whoever wins is going to get drilled in the second round.
Yep, I think that's exactly where it's headed. Cavaliers beat the Raptors 125-100, so Cleveland's up 3-2. Pittsburgh avoided elimination. They beat Orlando, the 1 seed. Detroit at home facing elimination, wins 116-109. They're still down 3-2. Cade Cunningham, 45 points. He's the number 1 pick. He's supposed to come up big. Season's on the line. He came up big.
You said Pittsburgh, the old ABA team?
Yes.
That would be a.k.a. Orlando?
Orlando.
Detroit.
Where that came from. Detroit beats Orlando. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think you had hockey on the mind.
I must have Penguins on the mind, yeah.
I don't think
Poor
that's
Penguins.
what it was.
What are they going to do?
Yeah, sure.
Plenty of interviews out there. If you want more hockey, we talked with Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer from ESPN. Most importantly, he's from Jersey and wants to talk Taylor ham and pork roll with PK. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. You nailed
Thank
it.
you.
I knew you would.
I had tailor-made in my brain. I started thinking golf right in the middle of that. I'm like, wait a minute, am I going to screw this up too?
Yeah, I compare it to like a Canadian bacon type thing.
Ooh, now you're talking Canadian bacon. Okay, got it.
Yeah, but for Jersey people, that's always it's for some reason I think it might only be unique to that state. I've never heard it anyplace else, and they love to talk about it. I mean, Tony Segura, years ago, the lineman, grew up in Jersey, not like 5 minutes from where I grew up, and he was talking about it in a Sports Illustrated story. Just for a little thing, and they can put an egg and a cheese on it, and then you got like a breakfast sandwich, basically, is what it is. But it gets a lot of run for sort of being a nondescript food.
Well, Greg was really good. You want more hockey
really
content. He had a lot of stuff to say. He was covering Pittsburgh, Philly, but staying up till 2 a.m. He labeled this the most entertaining series, acknowledged a lot of hockey fans are probably sleeping through it, but he just thinks it's been wildly entertaining. So, and then his thoughts on the big picture on the rebuild for the Mammoth, that this is a step in a process, how good their young guys are, how many good decisions have been made. Acknowledging, though, there'll become a moment where you just can't stay with the homegrown guys. That has to be the core of what you do, but there'll be a moment, and he cited the LA Kings, who won a couple of Stanley Cups because they finally decided the push your chips to the middle of the table moment and go get the guy who's the missing piece. Yeah. So that was really interesting talking to Greg. Good conversation. Get it wherever you get your podcast.
We saw that with the Jazz this year with the Jaren Jackson thing.
Yep.
And I was just exchanging some communication with Austin Ainge this very day. Like, dude, just get me a playoff team. Got back working on it. And they are working on it. It's a fact. It's what they're working on. It's what everybody's working on. And Jazz are right at the top of the list in terms of working on it, and I think they're going to get it done.
Today is April 30th, PK. We're 10 days away from the lottery now. Mm-hmm. Bum, bum, bum. We can stop talking about, well, they could be 1, they could be 6, they could be 3, they could be blah, 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 blah. We'll know where they are, and then we can start saying, okay, here's the 2, 3, 4 guys who could be on the board.
Well, if they get it on the 10th, on the morning of the 11th, we need to have just a full-out party. We'll be out on the plaza. I mean, come down.
Martinelli's.
Martinelli's.
Number one pick?
Yeah, if they get the number one pick, absolutely, man.
We'll
we
be
need
out
to go.
by the Jazz logo broadcasting live. Stop by, people.
Jazz dancers, some other dancers. Who knows? I'll be dancing.
Get the bear out there.
Me and Austin will be dancing.
Lean on the Mammoth too. Let's get the Zamboni, the Zamoth out there. Drive that thing.
That's
around.
potentially a franchise chasing day.
It really is.
I mean, that's just a general statement. Whoever gets it, and we saw it with the Spurs with Juan Belma. That was a franchise changing day.
I don't think we have to convince our audience. We've all sat here and watched A.J. Dybantsa, and I haven't even heard Ute fans rip him. I think Ute fans think that guy's really good.
Yeah.
If there were some flaw for Ute fans to pick at, they'd be picking at it. I think Ute fans who are Jazz fans are thinking, the Utes draft that guy.
Well, if you're a Jazz fan, you need to put your BYU hatred aside. Jazz fandom needs to supersede that.
I think we've seen that because for different reasons we've had him up as part or all of questions of the day on our social media, and I just haven't seen a lot of Ute fans going at him. I can't even off the top of my head. We can go back and look. I don't remember anybody going at him. I think he impressed everybody. He lived up to the hype and in some cases exceeded it.
When Kevin Ginkel came out of the bullpen last night for the Diamondbacks with a couple of runners on, I was pulling hard for him, despite the fact that he went to the U of A.
All right. Way to give us a nice analogy, PK. That was rock solid.
That's local, right? Local to me.
It is. All right. Hey, we got to go to break, but give us that story because that was a funny story about Nick Saban, a bunch of people getting to live the dream.
Nick Saban was on Feinbaum, and he went to the Morgan Wallen concert, and Morgan Wallen plays in football stadiums, and he usually has local people. I think Steve Young and somebody else were there when he played.
Jerry Rice, too.
Was it? Yeah, I can't remember. But he's a very popular country artist now who sells out stadiums regularly and has done work with Post Malone and so forth.
And he was a high school baseball player.
He was a high school baseball player, and he
champ.
donated money to his high school team. They won in Tennessee, and he won the state title a couple of years ago. Or not a couple of years ago, whenever he was a junior. That would have been 12 years ago. But anyway, he gave like $1 million or $2 million for their baseball program. So Saban, they were at the Alabama stadium, and Saban was one of the guys that he was walking out with. And he usually has some guys that they walk out onto the stage, and then the crowd goes nuts. And so Feinbaum interviewed Saban, and Saban said, that's the first time I've ever walked down that tunnel, and there was no consequence in terms of winning and losing a game. So that was fun. I really enjoyed having the time backstage with those guys, speaking of the band members, which was our locker room. That was our locker room. Great band, great group of guys. A lot of them were former athletes. It was a lot of fun. They actually got on a big huddle, and I gave them a halftime ass chewing and told them that they needed to get in gear.
That just cracks me up. You got some world-famous band that has left 15 and 20,000 seat sport arenas behind it, is now playing 50 to 100,000 seat football stadiums, and he gives them his halftime ass chewing.
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago that Padres baseball stadium is too small. I think they played like 3 nights.
Yeah. I remember you talking about that when it was going on.
Yeah.
All right, DJ and PK, we have to take a break. Your feedback is coming up next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it is time for your feedback. What have you got to say about today's show? And the answer is a lot. The Mammoth losing in double overtime. The takes on of this after another overtime loss. They win the 2 OT games. It could be 4-1. It's all over. They're advancing, but they lost them both. They're down 3-2, facing elimination. Jesse says series is over. Jesse's done. He's throw the towel. Jesse's done.
Oh, Jesse.
Jaden says they can't capitalize on a 4-minute power play. They decide to do what we do worst, go full defense and let them tie it in the final minute and then lose to a shorthanded goal. Yeah. Jaden is so frustrated.
Oh, that's frustrating. I get it. I think that's where you have to factor in a little bit of a big picture.
Kyle says that line change in the third period is a mistake. That allowed him to tie it up. And Tommy says 2 allowed shorthanded goals. That is brutal. So they got very specific things to complain about.
Well, I think the shorthanded goals are something that are always going to gnaw at whoever you are.
Yep.
Whether you're a fan or you're a team, that's just something that on paper and I guess even on the ice is not supposed to happen.
Nathan says Vegas has too much experience for the Elephant Zoobs. See what he did there? See how clever he was?
Yeah, because they're owned by Ryan Smith. Is that the point?
Right. See, that's a BYU Mammoth Elephant big mammal joke right there.
But the Zoob part.
The Zoob part is because Ryan owns the team. Yes. Caleb says they need a better coach. Young players are only as good as their coach.
Would you
a
rather
young coach could get them through this without ever losing? Which coach has done that? How many coaches
Phil
have been able to
Jackson
pull that off?
Maybe can Phil coach hockey? Yeah.
Can Phil coach hockey? Put on the skates, Phil. Let's go.
But actually, I was thinking about this. These guys fight on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see like UFC on ice, and
just watch them slip and slide around.
Yeah, and then you earlier, which was an abomination, you actually brought up soccer in terms of hockey because you've already made it, DJ. You don't have to convince those people. You're nil and you're the 18 and all the lingo that you like to use. They already believe you're in. You've fooled them. I would like to see soccer players since you compared the two, soccer players do hockey and hockey players do soccer.
There are probably a bunch of players that like to do that. I know they've traded setting their players up at those games. So they didn't hockey and basketball do that? Didn't they have the hockey team over during a basketball practice?
No, but I want to actually see a game, not just show up and watch them practice. No, I want to see them compete we always have the discussion, who are the best athletes? Well, let's see them interchange sports, right?
Johnny Utah says, this sucks, but hey, look at the big picture. Teams need playoff experience. The Mammoth are getting a taste of it now. Whatever happens next game or two, they'll be better next year because of this playoff series.
You have to think that's the logical progression.
And we will see how it progresses with Game 6 tomorrow night. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to progress on to Scotty G and the coach. Tim Lacombe and Scott Girard coming up next right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.